necessary ingredients, but we do. Check it.
We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want,
Now
you
break
can have
down.
it.
Orientation in this place we call Earth. Love from conception from your mom, your birth. Pops planted the seed in the turf. From there, you must find out what life is worth. Grew up learning your do's and don'ts. Before working on your motor skills, working on your coordination, right? And orientation to what you like. The brand new thing, so gentle the soul we're capturing. In this distance, the alphabets the kids sing. They celebrate when it's time to go outside. As you get older, you learn to let all the troubles in your life just glide away. Stay focused, keep it smooth, keep you cool. Things in life can make it get rude. If you let it, don't let it. 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 If you let it, let it, let it, what? If you let it, don't let it, let it. If you let it, what? Don't let it. If you let it, don't let it, don't let it.
We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have
Check
it.
it.
We embark on this journey through your soul. We wanna have a good time. We embark on this journey through your soul. We wanna have a good time. We do something that you know you can't deny. We're just slipping in and out on a journey, you and I, on a mission to salvation. Our spirit be our transportation. Within your doom, a little love and that is true. For real, we bring something that you know you can't deny. We're just slipping in and out on a journey, you and I.
Bring it.
We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it.
From our harshest past, embedded in our society's identity. But then again, can you tell me that's free? They explain to you what your mind should perceive, suggest things they want you to believe, like your skin color dictates your race. They're calling you an idiot to your face, like life is much more simple than that. We're all slaves and the cards are stacked, while we fight over problems we can fix. Industrialists turn our kids to addicts. The television does a job, introduce you. The radio's right there to seduce you, keep you locked on the wrong damn track. Cigarettes is just legalized crack. They want you to catch a damn heart attack. They want you to catch a damn heart attack. What? Stop believing in the flag, it's a trap. Cause men rule this world, that's a fact. They don't know, but I'm gonna make it right tonight. They don't lie, but I'm gonna say it like I know. They don't know, that I'm gonna hit them with this shit. They don't lie, tonight, 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 tonight. That you're gonna free your mind tonight, 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 tonight. That you're gonna free your mind tonight, 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 tonight. If you see a man that needs help, then help a brother. If you see a sister on her own, still love her. Cause life is about how you choose to see it. But you gotta teach people how to learn to see it. The planet's been through suffering many times. We propagate many wars many times. The people need to wake up and stop accepting deceit from their own government's deception. You can't blame the people for needing protection from the government's bad reputation. We need to sing a song called Free the Nation. Cause we done had a whole lot of separation. Racism, classism, nationalism, based on keeping people out on the plantation. That's the plan, no doubt. Cause rich people got a plan, no doubt. If you still don't understand and believe that we are all one from the same mother and respect each woman and man with the same consideration you would like to be given on a daily, then you need to retire so the new generation can take over and show you how to live and govern this place we call Earth home.
Home. 1 2 1 2.
To the human bliss.
Everybody here. Oh my goodness. They don't know, kid.
They don't know, kid. They don't know. They don't.
All right, now. What's up, everybody? I am back again. Damn, it's another day. How many days I go live this week? I think it is May the 8th, Friday. I think I've been live 4 times this week. 09:16 Central European time. That makes it 03 in the mornings. 03:17 Eastern Standard Time. That makes it around midnight on the west coast of the Americas. Also, big up to everybody. Big up to everybody in the globe just watching. I appreciate y'all. Again, it's not, really to be honest, it's been a dream to be able to do some podcasting and get so many viewers, and listeners, so big up to everybody that's been supporting. You really kind of helped me grow in a way, and I'm growing every day. I'm learning new things every day because I got a lot of capable people on my side. Sterling's in the chat already. Sterling's one of them. We talk political talk here, and that means at least we got the basic rules right. Everybody can come up and express their views and can have difference of opinion. Now, I don't want people to get twisted. I am the host, but I have a lot of listeners that know a whole lot of stuff, and from time to time they hop up, and I'm blessed to have them up. I might get a little animated at times, but it doesn't mean I don't respect them 100%. And I will always say it. I've never had an idiot hop up. I've never had an idiot hop up. I don't think, in the entire time I've been having people hop up. So if you one of those people that want to hop up and have something to say, no matter where you're from, and you want to comment on the situation with the United States government right now, feel free to do that. I'm an American citizen, born and raised in Washington, D.C. Both sides of my family go back to the colonial period. But as a grown-ass man, I live in Copenhagen, Denmark, the great country of Denmark that I've also come to love and respect, and learned a lot of things while I've been here that, you can't learn anywhere else without being here. Pretty much, and seeing it for yourself and experiencing it for yourself. So big up to the great kingdom of Denmark. That is really a special country, and as Americans we could learn a lot from Danes. I don't know why we don't want to learn from our allies. It's 2026. You got to get beyond this petty thing. All nations can die any day of the week if they don't get their shit correct. If they're not on their job about being a nation. What is a nation? It's a people. It's a group of people. That's what a nation is, a group of people. And government needs to be about the people's work. It needs to be about making sure that the people actually are going to survive on Earth. And you hear talks, man. We hear talks. I hear talks over here. Let me tell you. There are different political groups in Denmark. There's a lot of different political parties, and A lot of Americans may not know that actually the United States only has two parties. Denmark has like what? Let me see here. How many parties are there in Denmark? Let me see here. I think it's something like 20, right? 20 different political parties in Denmark, and that's not that many in European terms. Americans might think that's a lot, but what it means is there has to be some consensus for things to work. Denmark also 80% of the population votes, and when you look at those two combination of things, it's no wonder why, Denmark has universal health care, one of the stronger healthcare systems in Europe, right? And funded, right? And well operating. And then it also has universal education. Let me tell you, people come to Denmark from all around the world to be educated. Don't sleep. The United States is not the only country people go to, but people come to Denmark specifically to be educated. And Danes have a different aspect on that. When you go to the public hospitals, you do have some private hospitals in Denmark, right? But they don't lock out everybody that's in the public system. If the public system cannot solve your problem, I think within a very short, limited time, then the same public system pays for you to be in the private hospital or see a private doctor. And it works like that. It's fluid throughout the system, throughout all parts of the healthcare system, or the main parts of it, pretty much, and specialists and things like this. Now, having said all that, Denmark is pretty much one of the leaders in terms of climate change. And Enhil's listing, let me see here. Enhil's listing, let me see. Enhil's listing and other parties. Let me see here. Just 2 seconds. I want to bring this up just to explain a few things. Regarding the Enhil's listing, Pelle Dragsted is the leader, right? And then you have a few other parties. Let me see. There's here we go. The main parties, the largest parties are the Social Democrats, and you see the prime minister is from the Social Democrats, right? Then you have the Green Left, which is Pia Olsen, Liberal Alliance, which is what is the guy? Alex, what's his name? Let me see here. Alex Vanopslagh, right? And you have Venstre Liberal Party, Troels Lund Poulsen, and you have the Danish People's Party, Morten Messerschmidt. Okay, Morten Messerschmidt. And then you have the moderates, Lars Løkke. I think a lot of people, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, know him internationally, right? Because he's been on the scene when this thing about Denmark came out. I mean, Denmark and Greenland. I mean, when Trump wanted to invade Greenland, and he might still try to do it. You can't trust Trump. Our regime, I have to tell everybody, I mean, this is my opinion. My government is basically, it's under attack, and it's under attack. It's under a serious attack. And it's been a plot, and it involves blackmail, espionage, and my leader, Donald J. Trump, appears to be a person that has been deeply compromised, right? That's my opinion, and a lot of others inside of the government right now. So I don't think you can count on our country to do anything proper or just or fair, or I don't even think you can trust our government right now. But then there's the Democrats, that's Inge Støjberg, and Social Liberal Party, that's Martin Lingard. Now, yes, så goddag til alle danskerne, der deltager i min program, ikke? Så i den her program, jeg laver selv, ikke? Og jeg har gjort det for det sidste, et år nu, tror jeg nok, lidt over et år. So welcome, alle sammen. Now, I wanted to say, in terms of the Green Party, right? I know my Danish was a little rough this morning. It's early. I gotta be in a conversation, and then it starts coming into it. It's hard to switch from English to Danish, I swear. But the leader, right, of Enhil's listing, I really have to say big up to Pelle Dragsted, because he gave a speech. He gave some comments, some pertinent comments that's around on social media also about our climate, and the role that green energy plays in it, but climate in general. Climate, people don't think climate is a security issue. Let me tell you, dirty water poisons you. Your society can end with dirty, polluted water and air. Straight up, it can. It poisons everything, all the animals around you, all the insects around you, your food supply, your water supply, everything. So climate should be something, and also pollution, which is connected to climate. It should be something that all nations are discussing seriously, and don't forget it. But unfortunately, my country is not a leader in that right now, the United States of America. So among other things, we just gone rogue. But what I would say is that this sign right here, again, I'm going to revert back to this. If you're a podcaster and you're not telling people to register to vote, right, then you're not for the American people. 80 million Americans didn't vote in the 2024 election. That's 80 million that don't care about themselves or you. So listen, podcasters out there, please, if you care about your country, it doesn't matter what kind of podcast, what subjects you normally take up. Let me tell you, you're in trouble. If you are in the United States and you're podcasting right now, you are in trouble. You are in trouble. There is no space. There is no group of people that cannot be touched and won't be touched right now. This is not a normal day for you. You will not be talking about entertainment or issues that only work for one particular group, and that shit's over, man. The country is under attack. The country is under attack. I'll give you an example. There's probably some people out there talking about right now who built the pyramids and, flat earth and all kinds of stuff. On a normal day, I don't mind certain history topics. There's people out there just going to talk about musicians and shit like this. Yo, let me tell you, man. Yeah, there's trouble with musicians and things like this, but you need to tell people to register to vote also. Because you will be affected also, and everyone that watch your programming will be affected, and 70 billion already in Iran could have had a free higher education. Yo, who wrote that? Hold on, I'm sorry, I wasn't even looking. Sterling, exactly. All kinds of shit, man. We could have paid for universal health care and universal education 10 times over with the amount of money that is being wasted by the Trump administration. I mean, people, man, just the fact that you fired so many people, it's like something like 500,000 people from the federal government. What do you think that's going to do to Social Security? What do you think that's going to do to those people were paying into Social Security for older people that need it right now, and they just fired all these people. So you see, let me tell you, Donald J. Trump has lit a talk about trying to stop a nuclear bomb from Iran. Donald Trump is a nuclear bomb inside of the United States of America himself. His regime is a nuclear bomb. Americans need to be worried. Americans need to be fucking worried. And it doesn't matter if you're short, tall, fat, straight, gay, black, white, yellow, native, any Muslim, Christian, Jew, any denomination. You need to be worried about your life and the future of and when I say future, I don't mean like a long future. I mean like your shit could end a lot sooner than the future. The future for some people, I'm talking about something for next week, a month from now could be the end. I mean, like, really, it's not. When I say future, don't think I'm talking about future is guaranteed. It's not. You are not guaranteed nothing. The United States is not guaranteed to remain a superpower, period, with what is going on right now inside of it. And the American people need to be very concerned about their personal welfare. If you are poor, regardless of any of those other intersections, you need to be worried about your welfare. If you are middle class, regardless of your color, your anything else, religion, you need to be worried about your welfare. Because let me tell you something. Although I'm an American citizen, I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. And so that means everyone here has universal health care. That means most jobs are union jobs. It comes with some security. Even on top of that, then there's unemployment security. I believe that's like 2 years in Denmark, unemployment security. Then on top of that, there's a strong welfare state on top of that. You see what I'm saying? And look, there's somebody in the chat says, you live in Denmark, don't worry about our country. Listen, I got something for you.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, so
when you start, they let you do it.
You could. Whatever you want. Shut the fuck up.
exactly. Okay. Yeah. So the reality is that I'm an American citizen. So I'm talking about my country, even though I live in Denmark. Yeah. So if you don't like that,
shut the fuck up.
Basically. Okay. Now, what country are you from, Bud Russell? You from fucking Elon Musk, goddamn Grok country? You from the same country as Grok? Goddamn trolls. Anyway, so listen, here we are. I'm covered with my work. You see what I'm saying? Like, I actually go to work. I have a union job. Okay, I have unemployment. I have healthcare, universal healthcare. My kids have it too, and they get paid to go to school, to be educated. Whether it is technical school, trade school, or university. So I'm covered. I'm talking about people in my own country who are not. People like anyone that lives in there. You all are in fucking trouble. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. And you better start waking up, regardless of any color, any ethnicity. If you are middle class or poor, you are in serious trouble with Donald J. Trump. He is the nuclear bomb that will hit the United States of America. Like, he is it. Okay. And any real American knows that, because your pockets are being destroyed right now. They are being destroyed. And if they are not being destroyed, you are not an average American. If your security is not being affected, you are not an average American, period. Okay. You are delusional. Okay. That's just what it is. So, but in any case, do this. If you are a podcaster, and if you're a regular person, no matter who you are, go outside. Make sure everybody gets registered to vote. And when you go, and that should be the talk of the day. Register to vote should be the talk of every morning. Any stranger you meet, ask them, are you registered to vote? Anybody that has any problem, ask them. On top of their problem, also ask them, are you registered to vote? Regardless of you, I can help you out with this. You have a problem? Yes, sure, no problem. Let me help you out with that. But by the way, let me ask you, are you registered to vote? Like, everybody needs to get registered to vote, because when you got 80 million people that didn't vote in an election, you got 80 million people weighing down the country, first of all. And then when you got another 80 million that vote for a person that says this.
Beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
Yeah. You got a big problem when you got 80 million people that voted for a person like that. You got a big problem. That means you have 80 million suicidal Americans that voted for a nuclear bomb to actually be let loose inside of the United States of America. So, and all I can say is, as an American citizen, thank God I don't live in the United States of America. Thank God. Thank God. Thank you. When I go to work, taxes are collected. And thank God they go to some other country, not the United States of America. Thank God. Thank God I live in a place where shit works. You know what I'm saying? Where shit works right. The way it's intended to work. The way it's supposed to work. Okay. Thank God when I leave the house, I'm not worried about somebody with a fucking gun. Thank God. Thank God. That's a great thing. Thank God. Thank God. Woo. Look, and then you have Bud Russell again in the chat talking about, so what? Shut the fuck up about our country. Nope, I won't, because it's my country, sucker.
Shut the fuck up.
You shut the fuck up, okay? You shut the fuck up. How about that? And if you don't like it, make me. Make me if you don't like it. Okay, you lucky enough to be in my chat, that I have my chat open. You see what I'm saying? But I encourage people like you to come up and speak your mind. So Here you go. If you want to have a conversation with me personally, right? No problem. You could do that. Tell everybody, hop on up. Tell everybody, for this person, hop your ass up and have a conversation. Let people hear your voice. Let everybody know that you're not just somebody sitting under a rock coming from any old country claiming to be American. Hop on up. We know what your accent's supposed to sound like, bud. Hop on up. And then when I find out what town you from, and I hear that you come from a broke ass town, then I'm gonna let loose on you live on my podcast. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because you are dumb. Okay. So hop your ass right on up if you want the show to be about you. Okay. But if you're in the United States of America, you're probably You're probably losing your security. You might be losing all kinds of shit. There's probably people around you getting thrown out of their homes. Okay. You got nothing to fucking brag about. That is just like, you got to be insane. You know what I'm saying? But in any case, we got two big stories, right, that are probably going to be the biggest stories in the country, I expect. And Lord forbid that there's another one. There are some robots. There is AI that wants to, pretty soon is going to be robots on the street talking about ICE, checking American citizens and shit to see if they have their papers. That's also a fucked up story that's about to hit the reality anytime soon if people don't vote. But on the other hand, on the other hand, then you have here's the Bud. Here you go, Bud. Hop on up, Bud. Bud is scared to hop up. Bud doesn't want anybody to, So there you go, Bud. Now, yeah, you got 80 million people that didn't vote, probably like Bud, right? That's not the good sign of a democracy. 1/3 of the population didn't vote. So the correlation between universal health care, right, is actually, and universal education is actually how many people vote, what percentage of the population votes. So all the countries that have universal health care and universal education, they have higher voter turnout. And right now, what you got is you have the United States trying to limit actual, people's voting rights at the same time. And so that's going to be the hugest story. Why? Or one of the biggest stories. Why? Because it's not going to just affect Black Americans. See, this is the same playbook that they've done every single time. They use racial coding. They use the idea of race for their base so that they can come and rob their base. That's really what this is about. They want to rob all Americans and their base. But what they need to do to get their base, that 30% of their supporters to just keep following them, is they need to give them some racialized meat. And so in this voting thing, it's like you have these judges that are like, aha, we're being progressive for the United States of America because we're going to limit African American votes. That's how we show that base that we're working for them. Nah. That base needs a fair wage, which the judges are against. They're against unions, pretty much, right? The right wing is against unions. So all those middle class people that they claim, that white people that they claim they're helping, all those poor people they claim they're helping, they're not actually helping them. They refuse to help them. They refuse to make life easier on them. And the way they keep them locked into that pattern is by giving them some red meat, trying to make it seem like they're hurting and harming Black people, which they are. But you got to understand, African Americans have survived all your fucking hate. So it ain't going to be enough. It's not simply going to be enough. Let me tell you, you will never stop African Americans in the United States of America ever. You will never do it because we are just as clever as you and just as resilient as you. And we know what a fight is like in our own country. We have survived it the entire time. You see what I mean? We know you better than anybody else. We know you. And we know what your sickness is. And your sickness is that bigotry over racial coding is pure ignorance. It is ignorance. Ignorance, 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 ignorance. That is exact. So that means you are, if you get off on, yeah, African Americans, you're going to learn your place. Yeah, we're going to take your voting rights from you. Yeah, we tired of this woke shit. Guess what? It only means you are
dumb.
And you need to what?
Shut the fuck up.
You know what I'm saying?
Fuck up.
Really, that's really what it is. And we're going to continue to tell you that the entire motherfucking time. Let me tell you, we don't care. Do whatever you want. You will destroy the United States of America in the process, trying to destroy and hurt and attack African Americans. That is what you do. That is what you will do. And we're smart enough to understand it. We're smart enough to understand it. You see what I'm saying? We are smart enough to understand it. That's what it is. See, we figured that shit out. We figured out how to play that game. So you want to play the game this way? You pay for it personally. Your families too will pay for it. And that's what you've been doing the whole time anyway. So get ready for some more. Get ready for some more. Get ready for some more. Get ready for it. Get ready for you to go broke, because those maps that they just drawn, you know what it does? It gives the elitists in your own state another opportunity to lock your broke middle class ass out of even more, sell out your goddamn state to the goddamn billionaires even more than they've been doing. That's what it's going to do too. See, you didn't think about that. You thought it was only going to affect one group. No. Every time you keep coming after African Americans, what you're doing is you're giving more power to the billionaires. That's it. And they ain't giving you shit back. They ain't giving you shit back. That's how bigotry works. It's for the dumb. It is for the dumb. It is for the dumb. So the other big story that we're going to go through, I'm going to display that too when we go through the data today. I'm going to display exactly what I'm talking about, you know, because this doesn't just affect Black Americans, although we're smart enough to recognize it was a stab at us. But now we're going to adjust. And now we're going to tell everybody to continue to do what? If you're a podcaster and you're not talking about people registering to vote, you are not for American people. You're not. That shit got to stop. 80 million Americans didn't vote in the 2024 election. That's 80 million that don't care about themselves or you. Get out there and tell your people to vote. Register to vote. Register to vote before the election. That's what you need to do. Register to vote way before this midterm really starts happening in this fall. Register to vote. Wait, listen, here we go. I see Bud. Hey, Bud, why aren't you hopping up, Bud? Here, let me show you. Somebody in the chat here. I want to show you guys. Let me see if I can get this up here real quick. Boo, boo, boo. La, 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 la. Somebody named Bud wants the whole show to be about him, but he's too scared to hop up, you know, which is, you know, always the case. Here we go. Boom. Check this out. There's somebody named Bud in here, and he's saying everything else. Look, dude, you're broke. Look, but Bud doesn't want to hop up. He doesn't want anyone to know about him. Let me show you. He wants to just insult from the chat, right? So, but I can't run a show and do that at the same time, Bud. So I'm giving you a chance. Here it is. Are you going to hop up or not? Bud, put 1 in the chat if you are going to hop up now. Put a 2 in the chat if you are not. Everybody give Bud a chance. Because if Bud ain't going to hop up, then Bud's about to be out of here. Bud, 1, are you going to hop up, speak so people can know who you are and know something about you? No, at least let us know that you're a real American. At least let us hear your voice. Put a 1 in the chat or put a 2 in the chat. 1 means you hopping up. 2 means you're not, Bud. So just answer the question. Yeah, nobody's banned from voting. But you're not banned from voting, not in that way, but you are, you're being put in different districts. So that means they're able to split what you thought you were about to vote for and the people you thought you were about to vote for. You know, your odds have been totally changed. So that's fucking over the electorate. I don't know if you realize that, but yeah, that's what you did. That's how the voting system works in the United States, right? So there you have it, Tara. Did you know that? And that's what we're going to go over to. But Bud didn't answer. Bud, where you at? How come you're not hopping up, Bud? Let's put it in the chat one more time for Bud. Okay, let's see if Bud wants to actually come up. There you go, Bud. There's the link again. Yeah, I should use the Remy Ma version of dumb, right? I'm just adding shit up here. Please, thank you. I'm going to do that. What's up, 6 cents? So everybody got a chance. We stopped the show, especially for Bud, and Bud is not going to hop up. Bud's not even going to answer since he knows I stopped the show for him, right? So again, let me get back to it. Poor white and middle class Americans that voted for Trump, they keep getting played by the elite, because really in the United States what's going on is it's a war. It's a war on the middle class and poor, right? It's not just black people. Black people, you know, we might be a synonym for poor and middle class, but when they come for us, they come for everybody else too. You see what I mean? And that's what these stupid asses haven't figured out yet. You see what I mean? That's the issue there. So while they sitting back, people like Tara, like, nobody's stopping you from voting. Well, Tara, if you are middle class or poor, what just happened in any of those southern states is going to affect a person that thinks exactly like you, that lives in your state, unless you doing pretty well off. So Tara, are you doing pretty well off? Are you one of the better off Americans? We talking about upper class and, you know, millionaire or billionaire? Because if you're not at least got a couple $1 million in your pocket, everyone around you is probably broke. Okay? Like, seriously. There you go. See, there you go. If you don't have a couple of $1 million in your pocket, everyone around you is probably struggling due to the Trump administration and what they have inflicted on the American people. And this voting, although it sounds like it's about black people, yeah, but when it comes to policy, we tend to be middle class and poor largely. So that means the policy that will be set in these states by doing this shit, fucking with the districts, is going to affect all people who are middle class and poor, because black in America is synonymous with middle class and poor. So just remember that. You didn't do your broke ass any favors or your middle class ass any favors by allowing this. Just understand that. The same people at play are the billionaires. Trump sent this message out, and these state politicians are following the billionaires right now. So they're not going to do anything to improve your health care. They're not going to do anything in that state to improve any of those things. So you stuck, you know, and that's too bad. Now, the second biggest story is the story about this virus that's going around, and it is going to hit people pretty hard. The Hantavirus, it looks like it anyway, how it's spreading. It's spreading pretty rapid. And we know the Trump administration, we know how they roll. They weren't too good at this last time with Corona, right? No. Actually, Trump was a complete, utter imbecile with Corona. He was a conspiracy theorist. He thought bright lights could stop it. That's what Trump literally talked about. He thought drinking Clorox might help. Now, put a 1 in the chat if you think drinking Clorox might help you with coronavirus, okay? Because I didn't see it work that way, you know. In the end, it turned out to be vaccines. Now, he has a lot of also anti-vaxxers and, you know, conspiracy people also up in his cabinet. You see, all up in the health administration right now. And so a virus is not going to be good for too many people right now, you know. But I could tell you, what everybody else does is going to likely be very different from what the United States of America does. Why? Because there's money in this. When people suffer and people die, there's money. There's money in it. You know, there's going to be a whole lot of money. And I'm quite sure the same people that look for money in every fucking tragedy are going to be thinking about the money right here. You see what I mean? It's going to be like playing the stock market. People don't matter. Real life people, everyday people don't matter. You see, so you're going to get dealt with like a can of meat. You see what I'm saying? A can of hash, whatever the fuck that is. You know what I'm saying? Do they even make that any? It's called hash, right? That's how they really look at American people. Like fucking hash. A can of fucking hash. They don't care about what you're going to go through. They don't need to get it right. What they need to get right, this government that we have, is they need to figure a way to for their families to get personally wealthy on it. That's what they need. How you're affected comes after that. You see what I'm saying? The more dead people, the less people want Social Security. That's how they look at it. If we can get rid of many poor ass people, that would be fantastic. And there's a whole lot. Okay, that's really what it looks like they're up to. Anybody that's happened to be a little unhealthy, needs some health care, why stop this virus? You see, so that's what I'm thinking anyway. I'm just being honest about it. And again, you don't have to agree. That's why I do my show and you don't do yours. Okay, so here we go. So here, boom, here's the panel. Oh, damn. Here's the panel, right? I'm going to put it in the chat one more time. And I really encourage people to hop up so other people can hear you make your arguments. You know, I want to engage with you beyond the snippets in the chat. I want to engage with people. I want my audience to be able to hear you just like they hear me. I want it to be fair. You see what I'm saying? A lot of the audience doesn't even look at the chat, so is not even aware of what's going on. So I can't always refer to it. But here is the link to the panel. If you want to come up, everyone will be able to hear your voice. We'll be able to have a back and forth dialogue. I'll be able to ask you what state you live in. I'll be able to, ask you some basics so I can kind of qualify your opinions too. You see what I mean? Because like I said before, if you're middle class or you're poor, you should be leaning towards policy that cares about you. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be leaning towards policy that only billionaires and fucking people with $10 million like. But in any case, that's my view on it. But if you are, explain it. I want to get you on record, I want to get you on record with your views, So just like I go on record with mine. Let me see here. There was also something and one other story that came out that I'm going to go over. It's about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris just said that the Democratic Party needs to release the autopsy from 2024. And if you agree with that, then that's a good thing. Some people don't. Obviously, some people don't want the autopsy to be released. I didn't really think in the beginning. I also had a different view. My thoughts were, am I pulling this up right? Did I pull? Oh, hold on. Sorry. My views in the beginning were that, here we go, were that I wasn't too sure. I kind of bought this idea that, they're giving points away to Republicans if they release too much of the autopsy. But I changed my mind. And here's why, because I realized this thing, the argument that they were making about releasing and also Sterling, let me know what you think. You can hop up also, Sterling. I see you in the chat. The idea that there would be giving points to the Republican Party if they release the autopsy, actually, that's wrong. They're not giving any points to the Republican Party because the Republican Party, the Democratic Party has some stooges inside of it somewhere. They're going to leak that report. The Republicans already have the whole report. The billionaires already got the whole report. You see what I'm saying? So the only people you would be keeping it from is the voters at this point. And for the voters to know what's going on and what party people need to change, then you have to release the report for people to know that, to have a fair conversation with it. So again, if they're holding it back because they think, they're going to give Republicans talking points, no, they already bought it. You could expect that already out of the United States of America. Somebody bought that damn report because money talks volumes in the United States of America. You see what I mean? Why? Because a lot of people know that there's no social safety net in the United States of America. That's why the United States has the most extremist version of capitalism in the Western world. All the other countries that are capitalist in the West, which are all of them, they're all capitalist countries, they all have universal health care and universal education, pretty much. The United States is the most extremist right-wing country where it doesn't really care much about the social safety net system of its population. So that means, you got to fend for yourself. So if you could settle your future, if you could sell out the Democratic Party for a check, somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to do it. And just like most of the people inside of the Republican Party are there for a check. Most of them are stooges and sellouts. That's why they're willing to go on TV and lie every goddamn day. Kash Patel, what's her name? Who is the White House press secretary that's having a baby now? Damn, I can't even remember her name. Her name's Caroline Leavitt. Yeah, she's so useless I could barely remember her name. And the rest of them, they basically taking the money. They just there for the money. Hegseth, just there for the money. Not qualified. This is his last fucking check. After this, listen, if Democrats get to control the country, if the Democrats actually win some elections, if they get enough votes, they're going to clean house. None of those people are going to have any connection to the United States government ever again. And even the Republicans have said that. Steve Bannon said that if the Democrats win the midterm elections, we're all going to jail. That is the Republicans' view. That is the Trump supporters' view. The sycophants that got Trump elected, they said that. It's not me. But they're right. And it should happen. Even if he's wrong, it should have happened. It should happen. It better happen. Because you ain't going to have a country with Jeffrey Epstein running it. You ain't going to have a country with men being blackmailed by Russia and Israel. You ain't going to have a country that way. It doesn't work that way. See, in order for you to have a country, you got to have people of influence politically and otherwise that actually have some real actual morals and principles. And ours don't. Ours fucking don't. And you're seeing that at play right now. You can't have Clarence Thomas was alleged himself. Supreme Court they take too many gifts. They don't report their gifts. They break the law, and they're happy to break the law. They don't care about breaking the law. They do it openly in front of everybody. They break the law. Why does the law apply to them? The rules apply to them differently than the rules apply to me. Okay? It says they are supposed to report their gifts, and they don't. Loads of them don't. You see what I'm saying? So, but Clarence Thomas is alleged by Sasha Riley to have visited Jeffrey Epstein and Trump's parties regularly as being like one of the only black guys there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he said that he doesn't see how he would not have been aware because he was hanging around with the late crowd at the parties. The late crowd. Anita Hill said that he's basically a sexual deviant, Clarence Thomas. That's Anita Hill. You see what I mean? We're talking about porno magazines and, women's breast size at work, shit like this, all types of stuff. You know what I'm saying? He was harassing her, allegedly, according to her. He was sexually harassing her, So, the Supreme Court is just fucked. It doesn't have people. It has very few people that have strong, real ethical spine and a care for the average American citizen. Many of them believe in racial politics themselves. So they're fearful that if African Americans somehow get too plentiful or the color mass changes in America, that all of a sudden people will want retribution, that they will want to. It's all craziness. It's all crazy. These people are crazy. They living in their own minds, isolated. And they allow people to use them. They allow people to use them over this fear and things like that. It's crazy, man. But that's the U.S. And I'm sorry that Americans aren't willing to do the real mirror work to get beyond that stage. But it's showing the mirror work has not been done. Half the people that voted, because 1/3 didn't vote at all. So that shows you they don't even believe in democracy. But The other 1/3 voted for this man.
Beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even know. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the. Do anything.
Yeah. And he's right. You could do anything. Trump was speaking facts. You can do anything. And yes, he has. And so far, nobody's been able to do much about it. So actually, Trump was right. I'll give him right. Y'all give him a lot, either. Y'all give him a lot, either. Seriously. I give him right. He was correct. What he just said was absolutely correct. You can. That's the United States of America the voters wanted, and that's the one they got it.
I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even know. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the. Do anything.
Now, anybody that wants to hop up, here it is again. It's in the chat. It says panel. There it is. Okay, so now let me get back to the program. Appreciate everybody. Click the like button. Those of you that are watching from the TV or watching from the chat or watching on your phone, whatever, click the like button for me. Let's get started. Let's see here.
Are racing to contain a deadly outbreak of Hantavirus that's linked to this cruise ship in the Atlantic. The Dutch airline KLM says one of the ship's passengers, who later died after contracting the virus, boarded a flight in South Africa before the plane's crew decided she was too sick to travel. The Georgia Department of Public Health says 2 people who returned home to the state after getting off the ship are being monitored right now, and one Arizona resident who was also on board is also being watched by officials there. And according to the New York Times, California residents were on the ship as well. CNN's Randy Kay looks now at how this virus may have spread.
So it already has the potential of being, of hitting, interestingly enough, where did she say it hit? Look, the United States and Europe. 2 places where I guess it's in South America too. So America, Europe, and Africa, South Africa. Okay.
Monitored right now, and one Arizona resident who was also on board is also being watched by officials there. And according to the New York Times, California residents were on the ship as well. CNN's Randy Kay looks now at how this virus may have spread.
This was an expedition boat, and many of the people on board were doing bird watching.
Turns out a birdwatching tour may be the source of this Hantavirus outbreak. According to the Associated Press, 2 Argentine officials investigating how this started said their government is leaning toward the idea that a Dutch couple contracted the virus while birdwatching in the city of Ushuaia, Argentina, before boarding the ship. The AP reports the couple visited a landfill during the tour and may have been exposed to infected rodents. That 70-year-old Dutch man was the first to die on the ship, days after they left port in Argentina. His 69-year-old wife died about 2 weeks later. The rest of the people on board, including nearly 150 passengers, are now on a 3 to 4 day journey from Cape Verde to Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Spain has agreed to receive the ship there. Upon arrival, the plan is for all passengers to be taken to a nearby airport and sent back to their home countries. The 14 Spanish citizens will be examined and go directly into quarantine at a Madrid hospital.
This is the country of Cape Verde in front of us, but it is forbidden to go down to it.
This travel vlogger on board posted on social media about the predicament they now find themselves in.
Today was supposed to be the last day of our 35-day trip on the Atlantic, but it is clear that our journey will not end here because Cape Verde refused to receive us on its coasts.
Earlier today, this medical evacuation boat removed 3 sick people from the ship. On their way to the Netherlands, a source from Spain's health ministry told CNN that Morocco refused to let the plane carrying 2 of the evacuees land to refuel. Instead, it made an unscheduled landing at Gran Canaria Airport to do so.
People are usually infected through contact with infected rodents, or their urine, their droppings, or their saliva. Human-to-human transmission is uncommon.
Yet in this case, the World Health Organization believes the virus may have been transmitted person to person on board. And just today, following lab tests, confirmed this is the Andes strain of the virus, which has spread among close contacts before.
We're also working with authorities for anyone that has left the ship.
In fact, the Swiss Federal Office of Public Health has confirmed that a passenger who traveled on the first leg of the voyage and disembarked at St. Helena on April 24th has now tested positive for Hantavirus. That passenger, according to the cruise company, is being treated at a hospital in Zurich. His wife, who was with him, has not shown symptoms but is self-isolating as a precaution. Randy Kay, CNN, New York.
Okay. That's interesting. And let me see here. Let me get 2 seconds. Let me pull this back up. Now, there's some other data here actually about this virus. Let me see. It says that, can y'all see this? Let me pull this up. It says Hantavirus is actually a family of viruses found globally, but the current 2026 outbreak involving the MW Hantavirus has spread awareness to specific nations through travel and medical evacuations. Let me see here. Is my 2 seconds? Is my camera up? Okay, here we go. Now, the impact can be split into the current 2026 cruise-related nations and the regions where that virus is naturally endemic. Okay, nations hit by the 2026 cruise outbreak. The current Andes strain outbreak has involved several countries due to the movement of the ship and the repatriation of its 23 different nationalities and of passengers. Okay, Argentina is the source of the outbreak. That's the place Trump gave $40 billion for nothing to. American taxpayer dollars. And I just find it so ironic that this is where it's starting. Because in my mind, why did they get $40 million anyway? I mean, what's going on? $40 billion? Why did they did he talk to the American people? No, American people were blindsided by that, and I just find it very suspicious. Now, the virus is, of course, that's my view. I don't know if there's anything behind it, but why would I trust Trump? Who trusts Trump today? Only people that are blind trust Trump today. Who trusts Trump to not be up to a conspiracy when his best friend for 15 years was involved in the biggest conspiracy to ever hit the United States of America? Why would you trust the person who was his best friend? The only reason why you would do it is because you are dumb. That's the only reason. You don't have to know why. It's just dumb at this point to not to just trust this man. You just dumb. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not, so I ain't gonna do it. I'm not trusting him. The virus is endemic here, and the country has been managing a surge in cases since mid-2025. So why did he give him $40 billion to deal with that? That's crazy. I mean, he didn't even mention it out of his mouth once. Okay. Cabo Verde, the ship was held off. I mean, it's just making me think it doesn't even matter at this point. Donald Trump doesn't care about he doesn't care about anything spreading. Measles, mumps, anything, Ebola. He just wants it to fucking spread. Cabo Verde. I mean, this is a perfect example of U.S. aid. He gave them $40 billion, but he didn't give them this shit for goddamn to put a stomp out on this virus, to help them with this virus. Now this virus spread everywhere else. I don't know. Make it make sense. Cabo Verde, the ship was held off its coast for quarantine and an international assessment. Okay, so that's where it's being now. South Africa, currently hosting and treating a British patient in intensive care who was medically evacuated from the ship. Okay, Switzerland. Damn. What's up, Switzerland? A passenger who disembarked and returned home was later hospitalized in Zurich. And what does it do? Is it respiratory? Is this a respiratory thing? If it is, man, damn, it's going to be a lot of work on health staff that that are involved in the health industries in all the Western countries, all these countries really, including Denmark. if it gets to Denmark. I hope it doesn't continue to spread. The Netherlands, which is, in Europe, okay, Switzerland and the Netherlands, the home country of the first two victims, the index cases, the flag state of the vessel. Okay, United Kingdom, several British nationals on board have been monitored with a dedicated repatriation flight and a 45-day isolation period required. Damn, this is like COVID, 45 days. Spain. I wonder what's going on with Denmark right now with this. I'm going to look that up too. I've been at work all night actually. But Spain, the ship is scheduled to dock in Tenerife, Canary Islands, for further processing of passengers. Nations where hantavirus is native and endemic. Okay, outside of the specific ship event, hantavirus are common in specific parts of the world depending on the rodent population. Okay. So that would be USA, Canada, Argentina, Chile, Brazil. Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, attacks the lungs, high fatality rate, 35 to 40% high fatality rate. God damn. East Asia, China, South Korea, Russia, HFRS, renal, attacks the kidneys, can cause goddamn. Hemorrhagic fever. Hemorrhagic fever. Is that how you pronounce that? Europe, Finland, Sweden, Germany, Belgium, France. HFRS, renal. Okay, that's the same. Often a milder version called nephropathia endemica. Okay, they got the Latin name up here for that. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so why the Andes strain, Argentina, Chile is different. Okay, while hantavirus is found in many countries, the Andes strain currently on the ship is the only one that health officials in Argentina and Chile watch with extra caution. In almost every other nation, you can only catch hantavirus from a rodent. In the Andes strain found in South America, person-to-person transmission is possible. So that's what this is all about. So, which is why it has been hit international community. Okay, so it's spreading. In other words, because of that. All right, now let me just look at one other thing. Let me see here. Actually, let me switch over to this real quick. There's a few other things. I want to see the WHO make some comments on this real quick. So let's go. Let me bring this back up. Is this here now? Okay. So here we go.
WHO, that's the World Health Organization, the director there, General Tedros Ghebreyesus, is currently briefing the media on the hantavirus outbreak. Let's listen in.
And response. We have a few other colleagues here, which I would introduce in case we come to them. Now, we will first hear from Dr. Tedros' opening remarks, and then we will go to the questions. Now, for questions, two things. First, please identify yourself clearly. We will not be able to take anyone who we cannot identify online. And second, we believe we will have a lot of questions today, and you are very curious, which is good. But please also remember, in case your question was already asked, put your hand down again so that we can have a better overview of what is still left, what we will want to deal with. Now, with this, thank you very much, and handing over to Dr. Tedros.
Thank you, Christian. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining us for this briefing on the hantavirus situation. Let me begin by outlining what has happened, what we know, what we don't know, and what WHO has done. Last Saturday, the United Kingdom notified WHO under the international health regulations of a cluster of passengers with severe respiratory illness on a Dutch-flagged cruise ship, the MV Hondius, which had traveled from Argentina to Capo Verde. So far, 8 cases have been reported, including 3 deaths. 5 of the 8 cases have been confirmed as hantavirus, and the other 3 are suspected. Hantaviruses are a group of viruses carried by rodents that can cause severe disease in humans. People are usually infected through contact with infected rodents or their urine, droppings, or saliva. The species of hantavirus involved in this case is the Andes virus, which is found in Latin America and is the only species known to be capable of limited transmission between humans. In previous outbreaks of Andes virus, transmission between people has been associated with close and prolonged contact, particularly among household members, intimate partners, and people providing medical care. That appears to be the case in the current situation. The first case was in a man who developed symptoms on the 6th of April and died on the ship on the 11th of April. No samples were taken, and because his symptoms were similar to those of other respiratory diseases, hantavirus was not suspected. The man's wife went ashore when the ship docked at the island of St. Helena and was also symptomatic. She deteriorated during a flight to Johannesburg on the 25th of April and died the next day. Samples were taken which were tested at South Africa's National Institute of Communicable Diseases and confirmed as hantavirus. The third death was of a woman on the ship who developed symptoms on the 28th of April and died on the 2nd of May. Another man presented to the ship's doctor on the 24th of April, and he was evacuated on the 25th of April from the island of Ascension to South Africa, where he remains in intensive care. Doctors from Cabo Verde boarded the ship to provide care for the 3 other passengers with symptoms. WHO coordinated their evacuation to the Netherlands for treatment. I would like to thank Prime Minister Ulises Correa e Silva of Cabo Verde for his support in facilitating the evacuation of these 3 patients based on our request. 2 are in a stable condition in hospital, and 1 is asymptomatic and is now in Germany. The 8th case was in a man who disembarked in St. Helena. Following advice from the ship's operator, he reported himself with symptoms in Zurich, Switzerland, and was confirmed yesterday to be infected with hantavirus. The Geneva University hospitals then sequenced the virus and confirmed it as Andes. None of the remaining passengers or crew on the ship are currently symptomatic. WHO is aware of reports of other people with symptoms who may have had contact with one of the passengers. In each case, we're in close contact with the relevant authorities. Given the incubation period of the Andes virus, which can be up to 6 weeks, it's possible that more cases may be reported. While this is a serious incident, WHO assesses the public health risk as low. It also shows why the international health regulations exist and how they work. WHO is working with multiple governments and partners on the response under those regulations. Our priorities are to ensure the affected patients receive care, that the remaining passengers on the ship are kept safe and treated with dignity, and to prevent any further spread of the virus.
This sounds so... It's crazy. This song...
On Monday, I asked Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez of Spain to accept the ship, which he agreed to, agreed to do. And I thank Prime Minister Sanchez for his generosity, solidarity, and meeting his moral duty. The ship is now sailing for the Canary Islands, and we're confident in the capacity of Spain to manage this risk, and we're supporting them to do so. Once again, we assess the risk to the people of the Canary Islands as low. WHO has provided guidance to the ship's operator on the management of health on board the vessel. All passengers have been asked to stay in their cabins. The cabins are being disinfected, and anyone who shows symptoms will be isolated immediately. A WHO expert boarded the ship in Cabo Verde and has been joined by 2 doctors from the Netherlands and an expert from the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control, who will stay on the ship until it reaches the Canary Islands. They're conducting a medical assessment of everyone on board and gathering information to assess their risk of infection. WHO is developing step-by-step operational guidance for the safe and respectful disembarkation and onward travel of passengers and crew when they arrive. WHO has also informed 12 countries whose nationals disembarked in St. Helena. Those 12 countries are Canada, Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands, New Zealand, St. Kitts and Nevis, Singapore, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. In addition, WHO is supporting health authorities in South Africa to follow up people who were on the flight from St. Helena to Johannesburg with the woman who later died. Meanwhile, investigations into the cause of the outbreak are continuing. Prior to boarding the ship, the first 2 cases had traveled through Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay on a birdwatching trip, which included visits to sites where the species of rat that's known to carry Hantavirus was present. WHO is working with health authorities in Argentina to understand the movements of the couple, and I thank the government of Argentina for its cooperation, given its experience and expertise with Hantavirus. We have also arranged for shipments of 2,500 diagnostic kits from Argentina to laboratories in 5 countries. I would also like to thank the governments of Cabo Verde, the Netherlands, South Africa, Spain, and the United Kingdom for their close partnership and support. I also thank the many partners who have provided expertise, including the NICD in South Africa, the Institut Pasteur Dakar in Senegal, and the HUG here in Switzerland. And I would also like to thank the ship's operator for its cooperation and the passengers and crew who are going through a very difficult and frightening situation. I have been in touch with the ship's captain regularly, including this morning. He told me morale has improved significantly since the ship started moving again. I thank him for everything he has done to protect those under his duty of care. WHO will continue to work with all relevant governments and partners to provide care for those who are affected, protect the safety and dignity of passengers, and prevent onward spread of the virus. Christian, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros. With this, we come now to the rounds of questions and answers. Again, please.
All right, that was the World Health Organization's Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus briefing the media there on the very latest in terms of the hantavirus outbreak that has gripped an Atlantic cruise ship amid those growing concerns, of course, over the spread of the disease and the condition of passengers on board. He has assured, of course, the public that...
All right, so there's more on this. I just wanted to see what the who and the World Health Organization's view on it, and it's basically what has been reported. That's what everybody's reporting right now. So I'm just curious about what different countries are really doing about it, if there's any differences. But let me hear a little more first about what this is
cruise
happening.
Ship 4 times and joins us now. Doctor, we thank you so much for being here on Top Story. Take us inside that ship. When a patient gets sick, how closely is the doctor on board coming into contact with the passengers, and what kind of equipment exists on board?
Well, I mean, it's a quite small ship. We have a lot of medications on board because passengers very often forget their medicine at home. And there's some equipment, not much. And there is a sick bay with 2 beds and oxygen. So we have actually a lot of oxygen on the ship.
Yeah, and then do you think the doctor on board would have had specific training to deal with hantavirus, or any kind of emergency plan for a scenario like this where he got sick and other patients had to step up? Is that even something that usually is on your radar?
Yeah, well, I mean, the doctors, they don't have specific training on hantavirus because there's never been an outbreak of hantavirus on a cruise ship.
Yeah. Okay, so this is NBC right here reporting, NBC News.
There are plans to how to handle infections on the ship in 3 levels. One is just to wear masks, and the 3rd level is to isolate all the passengers like we did it during COVID.
What kind of protective gear would the doctor have on that ship?
Actually, not much. Masks, glasses, face shields, but that's about it.
We have a blueprint of the ship's cabin. We know it holds 170 people, including a staff of 71 people across 80 cabins, 80 cabins, I should say. How tightly is everyone packed into on this ship, and how hard would it be to fully isolate sick passengers?
Yeah, well, there are some common rooms on the ship. There is a lounge where everybody gathers, and if you have 150, 170 passengers, that's quite packed. And then there is a dining room that can get quite packed as well. And then
So actually, they have people that are still sitting out in the ocean on this ship that have not been repatriated. You know, only a couple of countries. Only a few people have been repatriated off the ship to their home countries, apparently, so far. The rest are actually sitting on this boat. Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounds like they're saying. That's also what I read in the latest update online. But yeah, let me know if you heard something else. Let me know. And also, let me know your conspiracy theories. Like, what have you been hearing out there? Have you heard any conspiracies or things that would be called conspiracies? Have you heard alternative information? Like, I saw somebody in the chat say, "Don't trust who." All right, well, come on, man, tell us your theory. Who do you think you should trust? What's going to happen? Give your predictions. Let me hear what your view is of this situation, because it's ongoing, but it's just hit. You see what I mean? Let me hear it. I'm curious about that. I don't personally just up and believe anything or anybody. I like to think. I like to gather information myself from different sources: left, right, middle, national, international, private. I like to gather information, and the good thing here is that I'm actually just doing it live. I'm only giving my live opinion based on what I'm just seeing of it right now. This is the first I've seen of it. Haven't seen anything else. So I haven't really developed my full opinion, but I could tell you one thing for sure. In terms of how the United States of America is going to handle this, I have no reason to trust Donald J. Trump or his administration to handle this well at all. In fact, it started in the place he gave $40 billion to in 2025 when the shit started, when it was an outburst. And why did he not just say, here's some money to help you stop this health outbreak you're having? He didn't even say it was for that. You see what I mean? So I'm just like, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't even matter where it comes from. I'm looking to see the U.S. respond to this like countries that have no money. That's what I suspect. I suspect Trump is going to respond to this in a way that is like, you know, we don't have the money to bring out the mask. You can just go drink some Clorox. I'm expecting Trump to say, just go out on the beach. It will solve it. shit like that. I'm expecting that again, because that's all the things he said before. I'm expecting to hear them again. If he said it during coronavirus, I'm expecting to hear it this time with this new virus. And I'm expecting everyone else to not say the same shit Trump is saying. And but who knows? That's my guess. But let me know your guess.
There is a lecture, so that's the common areas. The rest is are the cabins.
Yeah. What is the protocol? Yeah, what would the protocol be for a medical emergency or outbreak scenario on the ship, especially if you're far from land?
Yeah, well, you can't do much if you're far from land. I mean, you do what you can do. I mean, that's and you, as a doctor, you're alone, so you don't have any nurses, you don't have any help. If a major outbreak or something happens, then you can of course ask if there's another doctor on the ship that can help you.
You were on board the ship during COVID. How does this moment compare?
It was worse during COVID because there were more people infected and it was total lockdown on the ship.
We know that passengers on the cruise left to do a variety of expeditions. To your knowledge, are passengers briefed on possible health risks in some of the remote areas?
Yes.
All right. So just to educate people, I didn't put the chat in private yet, but I see I'm going to have to, because you have some people that, I have a responsibility to not like just spread things that are false. But look, for people that don't know, Donald J. Trump did spread false information about COVID. And here, one of the things he said was this right here. Right? Disinfectants. In April 2020, during a briefing, Donald Trump speculated about whether injecting disinfectant or using UV light inside of the body could kill the virus. That's a fact. And that comes from no other, that didn't even come from the U.S. Health Authority then. He just came out of the blue. That was his own little personal underground conspiracy theory conversation he was having on the net. Okay. And he just bothered to echo that from the podium of the presidency. Okay. The fallout from that comment that Donald J. Trump said, the same guy that said this.
Beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. Right on your way. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the do anything.
The only difference is that he was right about what he could do. He could do it and get away with it. He's right. But with this, he was wrong. People actually got hurt by his advice about COVID. Now, the fallout, poison control centers reported a spike in calls, and the makers of Lysol had to issue a statement. Oh, okay, it wasn't Clorox, it was Lysol. Sorry about that. I was wrong. It was Lysol. had to issue a statement urging people not to ingest their products. Trump later claimed he was being sarcastic. Oh, really? Oh, well, I'm looking forward to Trump being sarcastic again. And I'm looking forward to people being hurt again because they believe what the president of the United States might say from time to time. Okay. Though the video, and how many minutes did he use saying it if he was being sarcastic? Though the video shows him directed the question to a medical advisor. Exactly. Let me see here. Hold on. How long did Trump take being sarcastic about Lysol ingestion and what is it, UV light and UV light? I'm just curious. Since it's sarcasm, we could expect the same type of sarcasm again. It took about 19 hours for Donald Trump to claim he was being sarcastic. Okay, he didn't claim that, but the timeline of those, okay, but I'm curious, how many seconds? Hold on. How many? That's what I'm curious about. I want to know, how long did it take? I mean, how much time did he spend in his 85 to 90 seconds being sarcastic? Yeah, so that's a lot of time for the president. I mean, I'm not even using that time on being sarcastic on any topic here. I don't get it, you know? So usually you spend, what, 2 to 3 seconds? 4 seconds? He spent 85 to 90 seconds. Okay, but let's go back to this. Someone we can count on.
The doctor usually gets them information about that.
On the trips you've done on this boat, what kind of passengers are typically on board? Are they young people? Are they young adventurers, older people?
Well, there are some, not many young adventurous people, and the rest is senior people.
Which makes it even scarier. What would your message be to those passengers and crew stuck on board this cruise ship tonight?
Good luck.
Damn.
I would say good luck, because it's a terrible situation to be in, because you don't know what will happen. I mean, they will probably get isolated somewhere for a couple of weeks, I would assume.
Wow. Damn, he said good luck. He said good luck. Good luck was his response. Damn, that's not too promising. Okay, let me see here. Did Trump call it a hoax? Is one of the most frequently debated moments of his presidency. The answer depends on the context. He used the word hoax, but he argued he was referring to the political response to the virus, not the virus itself. Here's the breakdown. Comment was made during a campaign rally in North Charleston, South Carolina on February 28, 2020. While the discussion, the Democrats' criticism of the administration's virus response, he said, now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus, they're politicizing it. They tried the impeachment hoax, and this is their new hoax. Okay, I don't know what he could be. What's the new hoax? They criticized him about his response. That's not a hoax. That's real. Yeah, in any case, man, you can't really waste a whole lot of time on Trump and what he says, because Republicans don't hold him to anything that he says or does. So, and neither do his supporters. You know, some people, maybe a good amount of people actually after this have said fuck Trump and don't support him. A lot of his own MAGA is breaking up. They hate him now, but there is still some people, not just the trolls, that just stick with him, and they believe it. They believe everything Trump says, verbatim, period. If Trump says it, it must be right. Or if he has an excuse about it, the excuse is acceptable to them, regardless of anything else. It doesn't matter if it hurts anybody. Trump is number one in their life, more important than their own family members, their wives, their kids. That's why they call it a goddamn cult, you know. But here we go. Let's see.
Hantavirus on a cruise ship, and that's led to the death of some passengers. So what do we know about this virus?
What is hantavirus?
Well, hantavirus, it's named after a river in South Korea, and that word, hantavirus, really describes a sort of family of viruses. Around 20 viral species have been identified, according to the World Health Organization. It's not just one infection. It's really serious, but it's also relatively rare, and it's linked to exposure to rats and mice. The risk is typically highest when someone's doing something like, for example, cleaning out a building that's had a rodent infestation. So most of the human cases are reported in rural settings, such as forests, fields or farms, where rodents are present, and that means the opportunities for exposure are greatest.
Where could this outbreak have come from?
That's a really, really important question, and the answer is we don't yet know. All the cases are linked to this cruise ship, the MV Hondius, which set sail from the very southern tip of Argentina at the very beginning of April. But the first two fatalities, who were a Dutch couple, they're reported to have travelled through South America before boarding the ship. Now, that's really important because it's possible that one or both of them came into contact with the virus during their travels. And one version of the virus, known as Andes virus, that's been identified as causing infection in humans in both Argentina came into contact with the virus. So, for example, in late 2018, there was an Argentinian outbreak Andes virus, people who'd all gone to the same party, been identified as causing infection in humans in both Argentina came into contact with the virus. So, for example,
how does it spread? Is it airborne?
Yeah, it is slightly airborne. So it's transmitted actually by rodents, typically rats and mice, through their dried urine and the droppings, which are then blown into the air and inhaled. That's where it is slightly airborne. So mostly, yes, it is spread from rodents, but there have been these relatively rare cases of human-to-human transmission of this virus known as the Andes virus.
What are the symptoms?
Well, the virus can cause two really severe illnesses. The first is called Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, and it often starts with sort of flu-like symptoms, really. You can get fatigue, fever, muscle aches, then followed by headaches, dizziness, chills, upset stomachs. But then, this is where it starts to get very serious. You get respiratory symptoms develop. So, for example, breathlessness. And the mortality rate associated with this type of illness is around 38%. So more than a third of the people, according to the Centre for Disease Control in the United States, will die if they get that type of the virus. The second illness is called hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, and this is even more severe and primarily affects the kidneys. So later symptoms can include low blood pressure, internal bleeding, and also acute kidney failure. The mortality rate for this version is 50%, so half the people who get it are likely to deaths.
How does it spread? Is it airborne?
Yeah, it is slightly airborne, so it's transmitted actually by rodents, typically rats and mice, through their dried urine and the droppings, which are then blown into the air and inhaled. That's where it is slightly airborne. So mostly, yes, it is spread from rodents, but there have been these relatively rare cases of human-to-human transmission of this virus known as the Andes virus.
What are the symptoms?
Well, the virus can cause two really severe illnesses. The first is called Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, and it often starts with sort of flu-like symptoms, really. You can get fatigue, fever, muscle aches, then followed by headaches, dizziness, chills, upset stomachs. But then, this is where it starts to get very serious. You get respiratory symptoms develop. So, for example, breathlessness. And the mortality rate associated with this type of illness is around 38%. So more than a third of the people, according to the Centre for Disease Control in the United States, will die if they get that type of the virus. The second illness is called hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, and this is even more severe and primarily affects the kidneys. So later symptoms can include low blood pressure, internal bleeding, and also acute kidney failure. The mortality rate for this version is 50%, so half the people who get it are likely to die.
Who should be more worried? Is it more dangerous if an old person catches it?
Well, obviously, if you're older or frail.
All right, that data is staggering. That's some staggering data. And, you know, it appears that this is going to be something serious. Of course, I don't, you know, I can't guarantee that. I don't know the future. I'm not a future teller. But judging on the history of how our country, the United States, has dealt with it, I would expect a similar response. And it doesn't matter. From Republican leadership, I would expect the response they give. And the Democratic leadership, I would expect the response they give. I would expect the same pattern to emerge. Until something different, right? And I haven't really heard of anything different, but 30 to 50% is horrible numbers. Let me just hear that again. That is horrible numbers. That is a serious, that's a serious expectation of death.
What are the symptoms?
Well, the virus can cause two really severe illnesses. The first is called Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, and it often starts with sort of flu-like.
I'm putting the chat in subscriber mode, so that means right now. So that means people who have not subscribed, you could take a second to subscribe right now, and you will go past it. But afterwards, it will take you 5 minutes to get back in the chat. That's if you want to be. So just want to let people know, one last chance to subscribe before I put it in. Subscriber mode. You can still listen. The program's still running on YouTube, but I do want people to subscribe, and I don't like to put it in just members mode. I like to give new people an opportunity to listen, and subscribing is that way to make sure you can participate in the chat. Also, those of you that want to hop up and speak about this topic yourself, speak about it like I'm doing, you can feel free to hop up anytime. Now, here is the link. The link is in the chat. Yeah, that way you can we can have a real conversation And also I get to ask you questions easier. You know, I'm not going to sit around and be typing because I'm not in the chat. I got other things to do, like run the show, and it requires focus on a few different things. But if you want to have a real conversation about it, the link is in the chat. All you got to do is load Discord onto your phone and you can come up and share your views. So here we go. Let's hear some more.
Fatigue, fever, muscle aches, then followed by headaches, dizziness, chills, upset stomachs. But then this is where it starts to get very serious. You get respiratory symptoms develop. So, for example, breathlessness. And the mortality rate associated with this type of illness is around 38%. So more than a third of the people, according to the Centre for Disease Control in the United States, will die if they get that type of the
A third of the people will die if they get that type. And then there's the second type is 50%.
Virus. The second illness, breathlessness. And the mortality rate associated with this type of illness is around 38%. So more than a third of the people, according to the Centre for Disease Control in the United States, will die if they get that type of the virus. The second illness is called hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, and this is even more severe and primarily affects the kidneys. So later symptoms can include low blood pressure, internal bleeding, and also acute kidney failure. The mortality rate for this version is 50%, so half the people who get it are likely to die.
So half the people that get it, that's likely to die. A third are likely to die. Half is likely to die. Do you understand living could be a problem with this too? If you get infected, surviving it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be doing well. It doesn't necessarily mean you won't have you be affected for the rest of your life. Yo, it's time to mask up. Yo, I'm wearing a goddamn mask when I go out from now on. Like, seriously, it might sound, I'm sorry, but I'm in pretty good health. But, you know, I don't want to unnecessarily get sick, period. Not with something like that. A third, it's two types you can get. The first type, 1/3 of the people are expected to die. The second type, 50% mortality rate. Those are serious numbers. Now, there's people that might suggest that, oh, nah, they're just exaggerating. It's a fear campaign. It's fear. Has somebody in my chat earlier said that they lost a family member because of COVID. And people said that about COVID, that, oh, it's just a fear campaign. Yo, it's people that died from that. People died. Like, you know, but yeah. This is this is something else. Yeah, peace 6 cents. I appreciate you. Yeah, this is it sounds very serious, at least. It sounds serious. Let me play a little more.
Who should be more worried? Is it more dangerous if an old person catches it?
Well, obviously, if you're older or frail, or even if you have underlying health conditions, any sort of serious infection like this could have devastating consequences. So it's pretty serious, however old or young you are.
How do you...
It's serious no matter how old or young you are. Like,
you test for it?
So there are currently some cases that have been confirmed and some that are still suspected. But the way you test for it is what's called a PCR test. Now, people may remember these from the COVID pandemic, when you might have a swab inside your cheek or up your nose. What it is a molecular biology technique that can quickly amplify or copy specific DNA segments, and that can create millions or even billions of copies.
I mean, yo, I'm sorry, but this is crazy. But if a year ago, before Trump got in office, just before Trump came into office this time, it was around the election time, I said, if Trump gets elected, there's going to be another pandemic. That's what I said. And I'm just remembering that. And I'm like, damn, like, and I hate being right about stuff, especially ugly things. But there is another pandemic. And it was part of my conspiracy theory about Trump. It was part of my conspiracy theory about Trump and what he's up to, you know, and yeah, you know, oh, well, it's still a theory. Let's see how it plays out.
From a very, very minute sample. And that allows, in other words, genetic testing.
What's the treatment if you do have it?
So there is no specific treatment or indeed vaccinations for hantavirus infections. Instead, medical teams will be supporting and treating the symptoms of the infection. Things like breathlessness, for example, and that's called supportive care. So that might include everything from oxygen therapy, mechanical ventilation, antiviral treatments, even dialysis if you have the most serious version of the illness which can affect your kidneys.
So will we have another lockdown? Is this like coronavirus 2.0?
It's obviously still a really serious situation.
Take your vitamins, yo. Take your vitamins, like seriously, too.
For those who remain on board the cruise ship, there must be a lot of worry about more cases emerging among the remaining passengers and the crew on board. But the World Health Organization says that currently the risk to the global population is low. But public health experts are going to continue to monitor and assess that situation. That risk assessment will be updated if they think it's necessary. So at the moment, no, I think we are a long way from a lockdown, and this really doesn't look like.
Yeah. Oh, let's hope that holds, because you know, yeah, a long way could change very rapidly. You never know. Yeah, this is so sick. Let me just peep one more story here about this virus. I just want to hear. There was a captain on board of a ship that actually had something to say here. Can we hear the audio?
This is my sad duty to inform you that one of our passengers sadly passed away last night. Tragic as it is, it was due to natural causes, we believe, and also whatever health issues he was struggling with. I'm told by the doctor were not infectious, so the ship is safe when it comes to that.
Okay, so he did not actually. He wasn't aware. They thought it was natural causes originally on the vessel, and yeah, and they didn't think it was contagious, but it is contagious. November lockdown. Yeah, exactly. I see you. It sounds like it, Bug. I mean, you know, it sounds like it, but I mean, who knows? Who knows? But I don't know. I put it to you like this. If managed poorly, it's going to be a global pandemic. If managed poorly by the United States, it's going to be a global pandemic. The United States has 350 million people. If managed poorly by the EU, it's going to be a global pandemic. If managed poorly, look, yeah. In any case, let me see here. If managed well, it has, you know, it's possible that it won't be a global pandemic, and hopefully not, because I'm not wishing for it, because I know people are going to die. You already heard they said 30. It's two types. The first type, 30% of the people would be expected to die from it. The second type, 50% of the people would be expected to die from it. So there's two types spreading. And let me see here. Now, what is... I just want to see what the U.S. is doing about this right now, what they're planning with their health organization, and Denmark. Now, let me see. It says here both Denmark and the U.S. have moved into high vigilance phase as of May 2026 because the Andes strain of hantavirus is unique in its ability to spread between people, unlike the strains usually found in the U.S. or Europe. Both nations are treating this with extreme clinical precision, right? Because they have their own form, but it's only animal to animal. It's only rats to rats and shit like that. It's not rats to humans in the U.S. or in Europe. Now, okay, let me see. Denmark, isolation and hospital preparedness. Okay, Denmark has officially entered a contamination phase after a Danish passenger from the MV. Damn, I didn't even notice. What the hell? This must have just happened yesterday. MV Hantavirus returned home late April. Okay, someone came already and arrived. So they're expecting that this shit is already here and spreading. I didn't even know that. Damn, I better start wearing a mask as of today. I could already have it. Supervised self-isolation. The Danish Patient Safety Authority, Størrelsen for Patient Sikkerhed, it has placed the returning passenger under strict. Oh, I'm sorry. Sturluson for Patient Seeker Hill. That's the Administration for Patient Security. I guess that's how you would, yeah, you could directly translate it that way. It's more like the Health Administration. Okay. Yeah, let me see here. Has placed the returning passenger under strict self-isolation. While the individual is currently asymptomatic, they are being monitored daily. Okay. Hospital response to plan. Danish health officials have activated a specialized hospital response plan. This means that if the passenger or any other potential contact develops so much as a fever, they will be transported via high-level biocontainment ambulance to a specialized isolation unit. Okay, so they already got this set up. Traveler tracing. Authorities are working with the airlines that flew the passenger from the South Atlantic, Africa. I'm already starting to think I just came back from Spain for a holiday. For a vacation. I was in Spain for a week, southern Spain. So, damn, I need to also be curious about this. I'm curious. Has Spain had any outbreaks yet reported? Okay. Traveler tracing. Authorities are working within the airline that flew the passengers from South Atlantic Africa region back to Denmark to identify any close proximity seatmates. The USA surveillance and CDC guidelines. The United States has not yet reported a confirmed case from the specific ship. But the CDC is treating the situation as a serious international threat due to the Andes strain mortality rate, nearly 30% in this current outbreak. Okay, that's what they say. But the British doctor said on the BBC News said that it's two types. One is 30%, and the other is 50% mortality rate, and they're both active. Active monitoring in multiple states as of May 7th, 2026, the CDC has confirmed it is monitoring passengers in several U.S. states who disembarked from the ship during its stops in April. Provider alerts. The CDC issued a health alert network HAN message to doctors nationwide. It instructs them to ask any patient with severe respiratory distress, but that's if you can get to a doctor. Can you afford a doctor? Can you afford the copay? Can you afford the deductible? Just a thought. I don't need a deductible or copay to go to my doctor because I live in Denmark as an American citizen. Everybody here has universal health care. Distress about the recent travel to Argentina, Chile, or specific the MV Hondius. Okay, so 45-day vigilance rule. The U.S. is advising all potential contacts to monitor the health for 45 days, the upper limit of the virus incubation period. Okay, so 45 days is the upper limit. No travel restrictions. Crucially, the USA has not issued travel bans to Argentina or the Canary Islands. Okay. I wonder why that is. Okay, that would be too smart, right? We can't do it like that. That's why play it too safe. It's not like people ain't missing healthcare in the U.S. Okay, where's the ship headed? Stating that the risk to the general public remains very low as long as people avoid rodent-infested areas. Remember, this is the advice being given right now. Just don't avoid people, avoid rodents. Okay. Comparisons and actions. This is what we want to know. What's the comparison? And that's exactly why I pulled this up, just to be very, very clear. And as a matter of fact, let me pull this up on the screen so people can see what I'm reading from. And 2 seconds. I need to just prepare it so everybody can see it. Here we go. Maybe I did that too much, but hold on. Let me see. I could do it a little more. Here we go. So let's do it like this. Here's what I'm reading from, all right? So comparisons of actions. Confirmed cases, Denmark 1, United States 0. That means the U.S. has more. They just haven't been to the doctor. Okay. Primary strategy, Direct supervised isolation. United States primary strategy is broad clinical surveillance and tracing. Public messaging for Denmark. No risk to the general public as of yet. United States serious but contained event. Okay. Focus. Specific passenger management. Denmark. United States national provider readiness and travel history tracking. Okay. So that is the difference there. I don't know. So far it doesn't sound like it's much to be worried about, or it doesn't seem like they want to put people into any panic. Maybe that's better. A better way to see it. And I can also understand that too, because panic won't help. Summary for public. In both countries, the message is the same. Don't panic. Oh, damn. The protection measures are focused on a closed circle of people who are physically on the ship. Because hantavirus doesn't spread through the air over long distances like COVID-19, there is no more move towards lockdowns. Okay. What is the difference in how it spreads in the air? I'm just curious about that. Okay. I know nothing about it, so I'm just catching up on this now myself. So let me see here. To understand how the virus moves through the air, we have to look at two different ways that it becomes airborne. There's a major difference between how it jumps from a rodent to a human versus how it rarely jumps from human to human. Rodent to human, aerosolized dust. Okay, this is the primary way people catch hantavirus. It isn't airborne like a sneeze. It is airborne via particles. Okay, so that's what they're saying. The process: when rodent urine and droppings dry out, the virus becomes trapped in the dust. The trigger: if a human disturbs the dust by sweeping a shed, hiking through a dry cave, or cleaning a basement, the virus particles are kicked up into the air. Okay, I didn't know that. I actually thought it was people to person. Damn. The infection: you breathe it in, that contaminated dust. This is why investigators believe the bird watchers in Argentina caught it. They were likely in a dusty area, like a landfill or a shed, where infected rats had been. Okay, human to human. Okay, so does it? Okay, it does spread human to human. Okay, so there's two types. Now, human to human, close range droplets. This is what makes the Andes strain on the ship so much scarier than the hantavirus usually found in the U.S. Okay, so before was the normal virus that is already in the U.S., which is only can get to humans through rats, through rat dust, droppings. But the one that's on the ship and being spread now from that ship is airborne from person to person. How it spreads: unlike other hantaviruses, the Andes strain can be found in human saliva and respiratory secretion. The range: it spreads through respiratory droplets. This means you generally have to be 3 to 6 feet within 3 to 6 feet of an infected person who is coughing or talking. The difference from COVID-19. COVID-19 is highly aerosolized, meaning it can hang in the air of a room for hours and travel through vents. Andes hantavirus is heavy. The droplets usually fall to the ground quickly. To catch it, you typically need intimate or prolonged contact, like living in the same cruise ship cabin, sharing a meal, or sitting directly next to someone on a long flight. Okay, yeah. Right. Okay. Saliva, respiratory droplets, coughing, kissing close, talking. Fragile dies quick. Okay, so people die quickly once. Oh, it dies quickly once it hits the ground. Okay, once it dries, it goes out. Very low, requires close contact. Okay, so why Denmark and the U.S.? Oh shit, did I move that? Why Denmark and the U.S. are tracing instead of locking down, because the virus doesn't float through the buildings or city streets. Health officials in Denmark and the U.S. aren't worried about the general air quality. They are only worried about the breathe zone, okay, the breath zone, the air immediately surrounding a sick passenger. So damn, y'all, I really hope this doesn't get worse, but hey, you know, we got to find out how that's going to go. And you know, right now this is all they know about it. So I really hope people, I hope this doesn't spread further than what it is. You know, that's my basic thoughts on it. You know, hopefully it doesn't. And yeah, anybody who catches it, I wish them well. But you hear, stay safe, folks. And, you know, hopefully it doesn't progress past this stage, you know. Yeah, it's actually pretty scary. But in any case, on to other news now. Let me see here. There's more about this fool here, Kash Patel. Let me see. Let me pull some of this up. No. First, first is another dude. I gotta play this. This is crazy. I mean, and again, this is part of the Republican way of doing things. I mean, they just don't seem to care about honesty. Don't seem to care about, you know, being real about what they say they're about. They say they're about conservatism. They say they're about God. They say they're about faithfulness, you know, making this country better again. They say all kinds of stuff. And then you find out these people aren't being real even within their own private circles about shit. So this dude, Byron Donalds, you know, they're just out here. He already had a scandal and now he's back just simply lying openly. And I just say, you know, come on, man. Sometimes when you're wrong, you just got to say you're wrong, but you don't lie on top of another lie. You know what I mean? And it seems to be a Republican pattern, like lie on top of another lie.
Romantic Valentine's message. This is Erica Donalds, who says, remembering the spot where Byron Donalds asked for my number in the Oglesby Student Union at Florida State in the fall of 1999. Our first date came a few months later on Valentine's Day 2000. Thanks, babe, for making all 27 of our Valentine's days together so special. And that is a sweet throwback photo, right? That they have the photo, that they can reminisce on all the time they've spent together. Little problem, though. Is it actually sweet, or is it at best bittersweet? Because some people have done some digging and they've found that it's actually a slightly more complicated picture vis-a-vis romance than it might seem from that photo. So Web Sleuths saw the date there because this is very specific, that image. It's not just the image. It's that they got together originally in fall of 1999. They had a date, Valentine's Day 2000. Okay, well, based on that, let's go through the personal history of Byron Donalds. Because as Mehdi Hassan points out, in saying that she just tweeted out these dates, given it's a matter of public record, that he was married to his first wife at the time, just married in fact. He had been married not that many months before he met her and they had their first kiss or whatever, and then began dating just a few months after that. He was a married man. So look, I guess he's even more into romantic love than most, that he wants to have two halves of it, I guess. But that is kind of a serious thing. And that's not just speculation, by the way. That's not just Wikipedia. Public records confirm that Donalds married Bisa Hall June 19th, 1999, approximately 3 months before he allegedly approached his current wife at that university building in the photo. The congressman divorced Hall several years later and then married Erica Lees like a couple months after that.
You know, so keep in mind, these are the people that you know, they want to control women's bodies, but they don't even want women in government, like straight up. You know, they have a problem with that. The Christian right, not Christians, but the Christian right, you know, they pretty much want to remove everything woman from government, you know, and they're not hiding it. You know, they fire women for just being women because the assumption is that they didn't earn their space in the military. They didn't earn their space in government. And so just got to get rid of you. And that's okay. And they did it through Elon Musk. As a matter of fact, there's a new story about Elon Musk now where they're saying, I believe didn't the judge just rule against Elon Musk? I believe in that matter. Right. I believe they just ruled against him and Doge. saying that he actually, let me see here. Let me see if I can pull it up. That it was discriminatory what they did, and therefore criminal, or they're liable. Let me see here. Did the judge just rule on? Let me see here. Yeah, there's actually a big story that just came out yesterday regarding that. So when you put these two factors together, you got Byron, who's the pretend guy. You know, he's another, I would say, fall guy. You know, pretty much patsy, but also self-serving, sellout. You know, just like Kash Patel, in my opinion. You know, they use these kind of people of color, even though they say they're against DEI, but they use them in this negative way to be like fall guys. You know, so. Let me see it, to do the dirty work and then take the blame later, right? So this guy, he's capping for Trump's policies, essentially. But the policies are going to be horrible for Americans to live out, you know, and that's the other thing about it. So here we go. Let's check it out. As of May 2026, there have been several major legal rulings involving Elon Musk company, SpaceX, Tesla, regarding employee terminations and workplace culture. The most recent and significant development, February, Elon Musk scored massive leave. No, it wasn't this. This was labor. SpaceX, hold on. Let me see here. This is not it. Firing lawsuit. There have been ongoing attempts by former employees to sue Musk for mass layoffs, right? Specifically claiming the cuts disproportionately targeted women. Federal judge previously dismissed one of the main class action suits because of the plaintiffs hadn't allowed or hadn't followed up on the correct procedural steps through the federal agencies first. The judge also ruled that isolated remarks made by Musk on social media were not enough to prove discriminatory. Okay, but wait a second. Hold on. That's not it. 2 seconds. Let me pull this up. This is not actually the one that I was looking at. There's a new one. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Let me see. 2 seconds. Boop, boop, boop. All right. I'm pretty sure I saw some reporting on this. Is it here? Let's see here. Two seconds, y'all. Oh, wait a second. Here it is. I think it's in, I already have it. I just didn't see it here. Is it here? Wow, maybe I did. I saw it. Where was it at? That's the thing. Let me just try this search one more time. I did actually see it. I believe it happened in the last 48 hours, so I don't know why this return came up. Wait a second. I think I found it. Okay, here it is. Exactly. I don't know. So here's how they're putting it here. Doge federal firing ruling May 7th. Right. That just happened yesterday. So, okay. I thought I heard something about it. The federal court just issued a ruling regarding the Department of Government Efficiency. Doge, which isn't around anymore, but this was from 2025, right? Which Musk co-leads or did. The ruling, U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan greenlit a legal challenge against the mass federal layoffs and sweeping workforce actions directed by Musk and his team. The impact, the court ruled that exercising vast government power to fire federal workers without Senate confirmation is a legal error. That is the first major judicial check on Musk's ability to direct mass firings with the federal government. Okay, so let me see. What else does it say? If you are seeing headlines about judge ruling on Elon Musk firing women, it's likely referring to the Paris judge taking a standalone AI abuse or a federal judge blocking authority to direct. Is it that? Is it this? Let me see here. Let me see. I want this one. 2 seconds. Let me pull that one. Okay, so it is. While Trump administration argued that Elon Musk was just an informal advisor through his Department of Government Efficiency, the judge ruled that Musk's actions looked a lot more like those of a high-ranking government official, meaning he likely lacked the legal authority to fire people. The Appointments Clause issue. The core of the judge ruling is the Constitution's Appointments Clause. The law. Under the Constitution, anyone who exercises significant authority in the federal government, like a cabinet member or agency head, must be appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Okay. The ruling. Okay. Elon Musk was never confirmed by the Senate. Judge Chutkan found that because Musk was allegedly giving direct orders to fire employees, cancel grants, and even dismantle entire agencies like U.S. aid, he was acting as a principal officer with a legal title. Okay. What the judge specifically blocked. The ruling greenlit a legal challenge that could essentially undo many of the firings and cuts Musk initiated. Here is what's happening now. Challenging the wood chipper. Musk famously posted that he fed that he fed U.S. aid into the wood chipper. Judge Chutkan noted that these public braggings were evidence that he wasn't just advising, he was calling the shots. Damn. So she ruled, that those are official comments. Reversing federal firings. Because the judge ruled that Musk likely lacked authority, the court now has the power to vacate, cancel, which means cancel his directives. This means thousands of federal workers who were fired or pushed out could potentially be reinstated or receive back pay. Yo, that is a huge finding. Yo, that is huge. Blocking future cuts. The ruling effectively puts a freeze on Doge's ability to force agencies to fire people until the full trial determines if Musk's role was unconstitutional. Okay, why this is a big deal for Musk. Musk has spent years using a move fast and break things approach at Tesla and SpaceX. In those private companies, he has a lot of power to fire whoever he wants. However, Judge Chutkan ruling essentially says the federal government is not a private company. Federal workers have civil service protections, and the judge ruled that a private citizen, Musk, cannot comply, delete government offices or employees without following the specific legal processes set by Congress. Summary, 48-hour context. In the last 2 days, the legal team for the fired federal workers has been using this ruling to file injunctions to stop ongoing layoffs in other departments like the CDC. Speaking of a pandemic, they trying to fire more people from the fucking CDC and the Department of Education. They don't care. about education. You know what I'm saying? It's like they are arguing that if the person who designed the layoff plan, Musk, was never legally confirmed, the layoffs themselves are illegal. The peer review, it is basically the ultimate HR dispute. Imagine if the random guy walked into your office, claimed he was the new boss, and fired half the staff without actually having a contract or a badge. The judge is saying, wait a minute, show us your badge or you cannot touch the payroll. There it is. So Elon Musk has just lost that battle. That means loads of people are likely to be reinstated. And again, it's just another level of hypocrisy. But look, all of this shit ties together because first of all, none of these people have integrity, but also they don't care about the harm that they're committing. They don't care if they're lying. They don't care if masses of people are thrown out on the streets. They're just not caring. They don't care. There's no one. I thank God for this judge. This judge is a bit of sanity in a chaotic, insane situation coming out of the U.S. But it seems like things might be coming to a head, right? But it all depends because then again, we have the Supreme Court again. And the Supreme Court can always, this ruling is likely to be brought to the Supreme Court, or they're trying to get it through to the Supreme Court. I mean, we know that for a fact. So in any case, back to women and how this situation is going to affect them regarding these, this redistricting. So let me just put this up again real quick. 2 seconds, y'all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's Friday, so I'm happy to just be taking it easy a little bit. But the news is flying, so let's see here.
Of the Assembly Required podcast.
So good to have you on the show. The NAACP almost immediately sued to block this effort from Tennessee. Can you give us a sense of what fighting back in this moment is going to look like?
It's going to require that we remember we are the United States of America. And so we have to sit what Tennessee is doing next to the fight that's coming out of Louisiana, next to the fight that will follow in Mississippi and likely in South Carolina. We are watching in real time the restoration of the very laws that pretended racial neutrality, but were intended to deny Black and brown voters the right to participate in democracy, which is one of the principal goals of authoritarianism. They do not want the people who may disagree with them to be heard. And right now in the United States, race is the strongest predictor of political leanings. And so it's a lucky twofer. They get the partisanship, but they also get the white supremacy that they seek. And I sat in a hearing yesterday in Nashville, Tennessee, when the author of the legislation said, well, this is a conservative state. We should only have conservatives. And they intentionally erased the only Black district, one of 9 districts, the only one that allowed Black Tennesseans to have some voice because they've already cracked Nashville. But we have to remember this is happening around the country, and it is part of an intentional nationwide pattern of behavior. We can be angry about Tennessee, and we can laud the Tennesseans who have fought back so ably, but we've got to remember they started in the South, but they're coming for everyone.
Part of that nationwide pattern of behavior. Also in Mississippi, the governor there, Tate Reeves, told the Daily Caller in an exclusive interview on Wednesday, they say that Mississippi lawmakers are already preparing for a special session focused on the state Supreme Court districts, but said he has the authority to expand that call to include other redistricting matters, potentially including its congressional and state legislative maps. Reeves also notes that Benny Thompson's majority-minority district was drawn race consciously, basically hinting that it could be targeted for redistricting. I think the thing that is, when people hear this, immediately they start thinking, this is just black, this is a Black and brown people problem, right? They're trying to keep them from voting, right? But talk a little bit about how this is something everyone should care about. And there's a reason why, because when Black people might get the flu when everybody getting a cold, but you're still getting sick.
Exactly. It's a class issue, and this is where they're so smooth at it, the Trump administration. They're able to get unwitting Americans to go along with them, Americans that don't understand how the process works. You know, they think that they're just targeting black people. They are targeting black people, but it's not just black people, because black is really synonymous with poverty and middle class in the United States of America. So when you think about policy, which is what politics is, the type of policy you will vote for, the type of policy representatives you will get that support certain kinds of policy, it is still going to infect everybody else indirectly. So they may not be the first hit, but they will be the second and third hit for sure. And it will go to the second and third level. So everyone will get hit. So when you're dealing with policy, right, you're dealing with middle class and poor. And you could just use the word black to be synonymous with it in terms of the American demographic. Yes. So that means anybody adjacent. And in this case, adjacent means what black is synonymous for, middle class and black. So everyone that is middle class and black is going to be affected through the policy that's going to come from this. You see? And so if you're one of those voters that thinks like, you know what? They got special rights. No, not really. No. This is I tell you what, if you get rid of this, then what's your argument for not getting rid of the electoral college? What's your argument then? Because both are designed to protect minorities. Both. Minority group. That's what it's designed to do. That's why you can actually have someone who wins the election who gets less votes. Okay? This is a similar thing, except black people are an extreme minority in the country, right? But even though they're an extreme minority ethnically, they still fit in the region of middle class and poor. So all the policy that comes from it will affect everybody else. So, but let's play a little bit and see what they think about it, because these are the experts. This is just what comes to my mind, right? This is like 48 hours after this has been passed, or 50 something hours or whatever, 3 days now. So
someone has to make sure that at the end of the day, this is not able to spread.
Exactly, Eugene. Part of the challenge is that because of the centuries of racism that attend the United States, we have pretended this notion of race neutrality, ignoring that the systems that created what we have affected everyone. I have white neighbors. And so what it means is that when my ability to participate in elections is thwarted and undermined, anyone next to me might be harmed as well. Memphis is 64% black, but that means the rest of the folks there are affected too. And now they have to hope that their needs are being met by people who do not share their issues. And you played it part of the clip. Imagine if you lived in a community of cattle ranchers, but you were only ever able to elect vegans. They would say that it is dietary, neutral. It just so happens that the majority are vegans. But if you're a cattle rancher, this is going to affect your ability to make a living. It's going to affect your ability to take care of your family. We have to recognize that in the United States, we may be 50 different states, but we are one people. And when any of our people are denied access to democracy, when we are denied participation, this becomes a pretext for denying it for the next group that they decide they don't like.
Yep.
They may start with black and brown voters, but they're coming for everyone.
They're coming. They're coming.
They are, Stacey. It's a real pleasure to see you again. You and I have been on the opposite side of politics. We've worked together at Howard University, and I stand with you on this issue. I don't know what the hell's wrong with my party. I don't know what the hell their problem is, because they are just drunk stupid right now. Now, when you sit up there, race is a leading predictor. Y'all don't want to talk about DEI out there. Y'all don't want to talk about race. But everything you do touches on all of that. Everything you're doing touches on all of that. It's hitting black people upside the head. It's hitting brown people upside the head in their communities. So what are we talking about here? And I love what you just said. I mean, you have this legislator saying, well, this is a conservative state, right? We should only have conservatives. Then why the hell y'all out here, B word inserted, about California and New York and other liberal states, other blue states. So why are you so concerned about what they're doing? If, you know, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, we conservative, so we want all conservative. It doesn't matter that we got black and brown liberals, Democrat, Republican in our state. As long as they're not conservative, they don't get to vote. They don't get the right to have a voice. What the hell are you talking about? Stacey, this breaks down to one simple thing, and you know it, I know it. Everybody now got to get off their ass, I'm sorry, and get busy about the vote. This November, you got to overwhelm the ballot with your vote. If you want to stop this mess, you need to start unelecting these state legislators. And I know I had a hand in putting some of them there. I'll be honest about it, they turned out to be tickleheads. All right? The reality of it is, this is the opportunity now where you begin to take your government back, people. Stacey, talk about that piece of it, because I don't think people really appreciate how valuable the vote has become. If you never thought it was important before, damn it, it is the most important thing in front of you right now.
My parents grew up without the Voting Rights Act. My parents were born in 1949.
Yep.
They were born in 1949. They were in college before the Voting Rights Act passed. And what we have to understand is that there are no longer blue states and red states. There are authoritarian states and democracy states. There are states that do not believe in the right of the people to have a say, who want to aggregate power and foment corruption. And there are states that want to guarantee that in this country, we have free and fair elections. We have access to the remedies that democracy.
Yo, think about this. When they cut SNAP, right? Think about how many middle class and poor white Americans that live in red states didn't understand that SNAP is the same thing as what's the other term they use for it? Food stamps. They thought it was just food stamps, and they didn't get upset until they realized it was SNAP benefits, you know? And then they got involved. But this is the same thing. This is the same dynamic that's going on. What they can easily do, if they can get away with this redistricting in this way, guess what? That means the rich people, the wealthy people in each state is going to have every single thing they want. They can redraw the map because wealthy people already live with wealthy people. But do you know they can cut you out? I'm serious. It's not like all these districts have the same amount. It's just like the electoral college. Does every state have the same amount of electoral votes? No, they don't. Some states have more than others. It's the same thing on the state level. Some districts have more influence than others. Yes. And you just gave the wealthy people the way to just own every fucking thing. And you don't even want unions. So the working class is fucked in these states. The working class is fucked. And here's the other part of it. Sure, you might be targeting certain people through their ethnicity, but like I said before, these certain ethnicities that you're targeting are actually fall under other demographics like middle class and poor. So all the middle class and poor people will be affected by this, right? So it's clear about that. But there's more to it. Red states don't tend to care for their middle class and poor like blue states do. So it's not going to look the same across the country, this redistricting. You see? Yeah. So really, this is just another of the same stupid shit replaying over and over and over. And it hurts emotionally for African Americans because African Americans know how much they have sacrificed being American. There's always sacrifice in being an African American. It is only sacrifice. Not to dispute any of the other sacrifices other people have made, but what I'm saying is that this is the constant reality for African Americans in the United States. Their contributions are always under attack. Always under attack. Their right to claim the American dream is always under attack. They are always in the line of fire. And black women are always number one in that, you know, because they often tend to be the ones, raising children and things like that. And I mean, of course, it's different. There's still different families, but what I mean, they're often the center of the home, in that way. They're not just at work, but they're also watching kids too, and taking care of the home, in traditional families. Now, that's going to spread over to everybody else, and it is just so sad, why Americans are still trying to figure this part out, how just treat everybody fairly. Stop being okay with cheating people. Stop being okay with cheating people, because you will get cheated yourself. That is the ultimate story for the middle class and the poor in the United States of America, because they're okay with cheating others because of some ethnicity issue. They get cheated themselves by the rich man. And it's just so tiring. And I'm just saying this because I know it. I'm an American who grew up in Washington, D.C. All my family's in the United States of America except my kids. Both sides of my family go back to the colonial period. I'm 55 years old. My father grew up in a segregated D.C. Okay? That means black schools and white schools, black water fountain, white water fountain. So I know all of these stories, but I live in Copenhagen, Denmark, where everybody has health care. Everybody has universal education. You see what I mean? Nobody's getting stopped from those opportunities primarily just because of their ethnicity. People aren't there's issues about a lot of different types of issues, all over the world, that people debate. But as a foundation, everybody in Denmark pretty much has an equal shot at becoming something, pretty much, So when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to housing, when it comes to education, when it comes to jobs, big union country. You see what I'm saying? Big union country. Very few people are being left behind totally or cut out of the Danish dream totally. I mean, of course, there's always going to be people that have different arguments about that, but it's not regarding your health care. It's not regarding housing. It's not regarding, you know what I mean? And people are always debating to try to make it better. But in the U.S., those social safety nets aren't there. They're not there. And the reason why they aren't there is because people are still caught up on fucking race, still caught up on ethnicity, too stupid to see that, hey, middle class and poor, you're being played in class warfare. This is like class warfare 101, and you're still fucking banging your head on it again. And you're still scapegoating black people because you haven't learned the fucking lesson. Like, that makes you dumb. It makes you dumb. I'm talking about the overall body. That's what it is. There's no more excuse than that. There's no excuse for it. So if you're a podcaster right now and you're not telling people to register to vote, you are not for American people. It shouldn't matter what type of podcast you have. Your life is on the line. There is no other more important event happening right now outside of the pandemic that might hit, or outside of Trump, which is a nuclear bomb, Trump himself in the United States. If there's ever a nuclear bomb that will hit the United States, it has hit it already. It's called Donald J. Trump. But there was 80 million Americans that did not vote in the last election. I don't know if you noticed, but there ain't 80 million African Americans. So there's a whole lot of fucking people that didn't vote last election, and a whole lot of people that aren't, that aren't registered to vote, a whole lot of people that haven't been voting. There is a correlation between healthcare and education and standard of life when it comes to a percentage of population that votes. Yes, there is in the West. The percentage of population where the least amount of people vote is the United States of America, and they are doing worse. That I'm talking about the average. It's just crazy at this point. Legacy media is to fucking blame because legacy media is corporate media. They might seem like they're trying to come through with some breakthrough stories. No, they're just keeping people running around in circles on the same stories, same fucking things. They're not doing nothing about class warfare in the United States of America. And in the United States of America, class warfare and these kind of racial dynamics are the same, which is why black is synonymous with poor and middle class. If they're going after the blacks, they're going after everybody else that's poor and middle class. You got to understand that. So if you're an average American and you're fucking against African Americans, you are dumb. You're dumb. You're dumb. You don't know how the country fucking works. You're dumb. Let me see. Let's hear some more.
Is supposed to deliver, and that no matter what goes wrong in one part of the country, that the quality of your citizenship does not depend on your zip code and your geography. I started the 10 Steps campaign because we've got to understand that authoritarianism is a political system designed to achieve ideological ends. And the ideological ends intended by this regime do not include most of us. If you believe that Christian nationalism should be the law of the land, if you want proto-natalism where women are relegated to simply serving as vessels for a man's intention, if you believe that white supremacy should be allowed to diminish the value of everyone else, then you want authoritarian states to win. But if you believe in democracy as the currency of America, then you want California and New York. You want every state that's willing to fight back to do so. But to your point, Michael, it can work. I'm from Georgia. I grew up in Mississippi. I came of age in Georgia. It took us a while. But what we did in Georgia was not about bringing in new people. It was about reminding the people here that democracy could deliver. We didn't get all the way there with my races, but my races weren't the point. The point were the people. And I want us to remember that between 2014 and 2018, when we got to work, not just registering voters, but talking to voters, connecting the dots between their needs and an election, we were able to generate 800,000 new voters in a single election cycle. They may not have gotten me over the finish line, but we got 16 electoral college votes for Joe Biden, and we got 2 U.S. senators. Everywhere across this country, when we show up and when we vote all the way down the ballot, especially to the fine print, that's how we not only serve the purpose of winning these elections, it's how we reassert the fact that this is a nation of elections and of leadership. But then we've got to do the work in between. If you already live in a blue state, you need to be talking to your legislators about passing their own statewide Voting Rights Act. You need to be talking about making sure that the democracy in your state is as visible and as loud as possible. But overall, what we've got to remember is that if you are in a safe place, you got to start sending your resources, your support, and your intentions to the states that need your help. Do not abandon the South. They incubate evil here, but they farm it out everywhere. But we also incubate the solutions here. And we know we can win this fight. But yes, we've got to win in November. But that means showing up for primaries. That means showing up for the general. And then it means making sure we're paying attention in 27, in 28, and in 2030 when the census happens, because that's when they start this all over again. We can pull this off, but we've got to start fighting now because we're already behind, but we can catch up.
Facts, yo. I mean, that's what I love about Abrams is that she knows every little nook and cranny of the politic, how it works, in the practical sense of it. So let alone the legal sense, but how it's going to play out on the ground. And I'm just telling you, if you're listening and you had it in your mind like that somehow this is going to be good for you because you're not black. Maybe you think you're white and you're going to hide from this, or white America. You're not going to hide from this. If you're one of those middle class families down there in the South where this is going on, and if you're one of those poor families, regardless of your color, this is directly going to impact you, because just saying black, it's just synonymous for middle class and poor, because it's about policy. So if these black people can no longer vote for policy that works for them, they can't vote for policy. You see, they fucked over the poor and the middle class. That means less middle class and poor people will have the right to vote for policy that affects them. That's exactly what this means. You see, so don't be fooled. Don't be fooled, and don't be stubborn, because you don't want to end up like this, like this lady.
I know what I want.
But you wouldn't be able to get what you want if you can't vote for it.
I don't care. I've told you 3 times, I don't care.
Are you saying you don't mind if your right to vote would be taken
I
away?
don't care. I know what I want. I know what I want.
But you wouldn't be able to get what you want if you can't vote for it.
I don't.
Look at the shirt. The dude is wearing a shirt that says Alabama. This is where they at saying this stuff. This is where it's going down. She needs the policy. She needs black people's policy more than anything, man. She's about to give it all up. You know, this is irrational.
I don't care. I've told you 3 times. I don't care.
Are you saying you don't mind if your right to vote would be taken
I
away?
don't care. I know what I want. I know what I want.
But you wouldn't be able to get what you want if you can't vote for it.
I don't care. I've told you 3 times. I don't care.
Are you saying you don't mind if your right to vote would be taken
I
away?
don't care. I know what I want. I know what I want.
Look, see? Look, the black dude right behind her. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're in proximity in any way, it don't even have to be your color. It's just your goddamn pockets. If you are middle class and poor, you're going to be hit by what they are doing right now with this with these districts in the South. With the goddamn, you got to understand this. The Supreme Court works for the wealthy. That's what you have. And they just gave the wealthy the biggest go card they could have ever had, because they're going to use that go card to get everything else they needed on the ground. If you were worried about not having a decent wage or decent paying job already, oh man, you're fucked now. You're fucked. You know, because they can redistrict you. What did they call it? They call it something chopping and whatever. They can redistrict you now any way they want. And because black people are synonymous with middle class and poor, that means the policies that they will ultimately be affecting are the policies that help the middle class and poor. Ultimately, that's what that means. You know, they found a way to give middle class and poor people less representation. And keep in mind, the wealthy are the minority, but there's no law against giving wealthy districts more power, more say in this. Let me see here. Is there a way to give wealthy districts where wealthy people live more representation now than before? It's very simple. You got to ask the right questions. And of course, in the United States, the racial thing kind of stigmatizes people, and it makes them not be able to think a lot of times. But look, it says that they have to legally, let me pull this over. I don't know and again, I'm just picking this up now. These are my thoughts. So, but this is my thinking on it. So let's see what it says. Technically, notice how it started off with technically. Yeah, because we know technically everybody's fair. Everybody has the same rights technically, right? But is that how it works out practically? If it was, why do we even have laws on discrimination in the first place if it's just everybody's the same, right? So technically, the USA Constitution requires that districts have roughly equal populations. The one person, one vote principle. You cannot legally give a wealthy district more representatives simply because they have more money or property. However, in the current 2026 political climate, map makers use sophisticated workarounds to give wealthy areas disproportionate political influence, effectively giving them more representation in practice than their population size would suggest. Did you know that? I wonder if this lady knew that. I wonder.
You wouldn't be able to get what you want if you can't vote for it.
I don't care. I've told you 3 times. I don't care.
Are you saying you don't mind if your right to vote would be taken away?
I don't care. I know what I want. I know what I want.
But you wouldn't be able to get what you want if you can't vote for it.
I don't care.
And she's just like, as long as it's happening, I don't care. It's not going to affect me. Okay, lady. You know, listen. Here it is, the workarounds to give wealthy areas and this is exactly what they're going for, because people are so stupid to just let it be. As long as they're attacking the black people, ha ha ha, it's not me. You know, it is you, dumbass. It's actually you. Because you're more. It's more of you broke asses in number. Okay, what the fuck? African Americans are the smallest minority, basically. These people, man, I swear, man. All right. Workarounds to give the wealthy the disproportionate political influence, effectively giving them more representation in practice than their population size would suggest. The packing of wealthy interests. Instead of giving wealthy people more representatives, map makers often concentrate high-income voters into safe districts. Wow, what a beautiful thing. Thanks, Supreme Court. The goal, by creating districts where 70% of the residents are high income, you guarantee that the representatives from the district will be an unwavering advocate for the wealthy class, e.g., focusing on capital gains, tax cuts, or zoning laws that protect property values. The shift, and they even got more money to buy up land. They're going to end up owning the whole goddamn state. And the rest of you middle class and poor are going to be packed into a little ass area. All right. The shift. In states like Texas and Florida, recent 2025-26 maps have been accused of surgical precision, drawing lines that include gated communities and corporate hubs while excluding nearby working class apartment complexes. This creates a representative who is essentially a private advocate for a specific economic class. Delusion of the competition cracking. Yeah, this is what people say yay for. Yay, we got them now. We got them now. Yeah, you do got them now. You got yourself. Okay, delusion of the competition cracking. This is the inverse of the first point. To give the wealthy an advantage, map makers often split up the lower income communities so they can never form a majority. God damn, you people are dumb. You people that they're just happy this happening to African Americans. If you're middle class and poor, you in these states, and you think this was a good idea, you think the Supreme Court helped you because of your color, where does that make you? It starts with a D. Dumb. It makes you dumb. Example. If a city has 100,000 working class voters and 50,000 wealthy voters, a fair map might give the working class their own representatives, right? But it ain't going to happen. The tactical map makers split the city into 3 different districts. In each of those 3 districts, the 33,000 working class voters are now a minority, outvoting by the wealthy suburban voters they were grouped with. This result in the 3 representatives who could prioritize wealthy suburban needs while the working class urban needs get 0 effective representation. The consensus, wealth gap, undercounting. Districts are drawn based on consensus data. There is a documented trend where wealthy areas have high response rates to the census. Lower income areas with higher rates of renters, multifamily homes, and transient populations are often undercounted. The result, if a wealthy neighborhood is fully counted and a poor neighborhood is undercounted by 10%, the wealthy neighborhood looks larger on paper. This can lead to the wealthy area gaining a larger share of the district boundary than they should have, effectively increasing their weight in the final map. Yeah. Exactly. They're going to get more land. They got more money already. They're going to start packing middle class. I'm telling you, middle class and poor people into smaller areas. Okay. You think you're getting away from black people, but if you don't have the money to, you're actually getting closer. Okay. And why is that? Because you are dumb. Okay. Special economic districts. While not for Congress, many states like Nevada and Delaware have experimented with or used special purpose districts for local governance. In some local jurisdictions, business improvement districts or certain land use boards actually allow property owners to have more voting power than residents. I mean, this is just, yeah, I guess they said 1776. Yeah, 1776. You want that? Because I don't think the black people going into that alone. They ain't going back there alone. They're going to drag some of you with them. While this isn't redistricting in the sense of the U.S. House, it is the way that state level policy gives people with more property more representation in the decision that affects their local economy. I mean, anyway, folks, this is what it is. So I could say whatever I'm going to say about this, and some of y'all are still going to be like this
I've
lady.
told you 3 times. I don't care.
Are you saying you don't mind if your right to vote would be taken away?
I don't care. I know what I want.
I know what I want.
But you wouldn't be able to get what you want if you can't vote for it.
I don't care. I've told you 3 times. I don't care.
Are you saying you don't mind if you...
I know. Some folks don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I know what I want. I know what I want. And I guess you want genocide. You want no doctor visit because you can't afford the deductible. You don't want nothing. And I know what you want too. Nothing. That's what makes you dumb. You too stupid to want something from your goddamn tax dollars. I mean, god damn. Just working for free. Paying taxes for nothing. You know what I'm saying? All right, here we go. Let's see here.
Experts on constitutional law, 3 experts on the Supreme Court, 3 experts on the attacks we are facing as the court is doing its business this term. And I want to kick this off, Damon, with a question to you. We just witnessed the Supreme Court issue its decision in the Calais case, Louisiana versus Calais.
Right.
This is, in my estimation, the worst voting case in recent memory. I mean, in modern time. You know, you can go back. I think it's worse.
Do me a favor. Click the like button if you haven't clicked the like button already. I appreciate that.
Worse than Shelby County.
If you're watching at home on your TV, pick up the remote, click the like button also. I appreciate that. It will help more people come and get the information. Like, okay. All right. So thank you. Let's see here.
It doesn't seem to be.
This is Democracy Docket. Yeah.
Getting the attention of Shelby County, but I think it's worse than Shelby County.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as someone who leads the premier lawyers, civil rights organization and legal organization, give me your perspective on what the court did, and as importantly, like where you think we are going from here.
Great to be with you. Wish it was better circumstances. Mark, you're right. This is the worst voting rights case, certainly of the modern era. You have covered in Democracy Docket, and your audience knows a lot of the details, but short story is that the court has gutted the rest of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. There was a prior gutting, of course, the case that you had Brnovich v. DNC, also a majority opinion by Justice Alito. That was a sleeping, I won't say John, a sleeping something at the time, but now its impact is more profound, where he talked about the usual burdens of voting. Now those burdens are very great and grave in terms of time, place, manner restrictions that we struggle to address through litigation. So in this case, the court has gutted the rest of Section 2, moving from vote denial challenges to vote dilution. And it's essentially told us, it's essentially ratcheted up the standard. You can think of the Section 2 effects test, which has been eviscerated, as akin to disparate impact. The kind that you see in Title VII, the kind that you see in the Fair Housing Act, the kind we used to be able to litigate in Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. But in terms of the impact, here's why it's so profound. It's profound because this is at least part of a trilogy, if not a more, of bad decisions in a row. Go back to Shelby, Brnovich in this decision. Also, Section 5 in Shelby County was a very powerful tool because it had a prophylactic effect. You could stop bad things from happening before they happened if DOJ interposed an objection or other interveners or federal court would stop it. But that only was in covered jurisdictions, some statewide, some certain counties or other jurisdictions. Section 2 applied everywhere in the country, everywhere. And so even jurisdictions that were not previously covered. So in that way, and because of the impact where it's so difficult to prove that there is a diminution of Black voting rights, we have to prove intent, which we know is even harder after the Supreme Court's decision in Alexander, to prove racial gerrymandering. In fact, what the court's told us is efforts to ameliorate racial discrimination are themselves racial gerrymandering. The irony should not be lost on the audience, Mark, that the day before the Calais decision, the court had an order list. And on that order list...
Basically what the Supreme Court ruled is if you're combating racial discrimination, you are the one that's discriminating. That's essentially what the Supreme Court ruled. Of course, that makes no sense. It makes no sense according to the Constitution. That would make any law that is combating discrimination discriminatory. It just does. And of course, right now, people aren't forced to reckon with it right away because you don't have a government that is even interested in being, in how can I say this, in anything making any sense at all. They don't care if you have a litany of rulings that make no sense and can't really be applied and really just create more chaos. This administration doesn't care. But you got to understand something. If that law is to stand, it will break down every other thing. It will break down. It will be like a wrecking ball. It's not going to just end with African Americans. You see what I'm saying? And that's what people need to be concerned about. It's going to instantly spread to so many other people because the United States is not wrapped into just black and white. It's wrapped into it's so diverse, So if you're trying to get discrimination, if you're going to call combating anti-black discrimination, if you're going to call that discriminating, then you're going to call trying to combat every other form of discrimination discriminating. Yeah, it's just
case that well, because
how is it going to affect other groups of people? What if they say, okay, well, right now we're only tired of the black people, but tomorrow we're tired of the Jews, or tomorrow we're tired of the Muslims, or tomorrow we're tired of the Hispanics, or tomorrow we're tired of anybody, the poor, the middle class. It's nothing stopping them. It's nothing stopping them. They just gave them carte blanche, and so it's crazy.
We both litigated the case. The Texas redistricting case, where the court had previously issued a stay on a preliminary injunction win where we all won at the trial court, but then basically put the death knell on it the day before KLA. So the court is telling us that going after black and Latino opportunity districts in Texas is not racial gerrymandering, but ameliorating discrimination against black voters in Louisiana rather, is racial gerrymandering. So here's my nutshell, Mark.
It doesn't make sense.
This case is so bad, people have to understand it cannot be fixed with the statute. It cannot be fixed with the new bill because it is of constitutional dimension. This is essentially the Plessy v. Ferguson of voting rights. And to fix Plessy, you needed a Brown v. Board. Some say it's the Dred Scott of voting rights. And to fix that, you needed the 14th Amendment while we had it. So I'll stop with that, but this is a big one that people need to understand will not be fixed anytime soon and not easily.
All right. So, Congressman, I want to go to you because you are both a constitutional law scholar. You are also a member of Congress. And I share Damon's view of everything he said. I agree with. And I share his view that this is
exactly, it has to go through Congress. Why? Because they fucked it up. This Supreme Court has done so many. This is, like he said, this isn't even the first thing. It's a series of things they've done that have fucked up everything, and it's so sad. So it will take another 14th Amendment that has a series of things that become codified just to correct this bullshit. It's
not
crazy.
like we pass the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and everything is reset and is all fine. We need a much bolder, a much more aggressive, a much, harder path here to address this. And I'm just wondering, you sit in Congress, you are a strident and vocal advocate for voting rights, and you understand the constitutional dimension. So what do you think the path forward is?
I think, first of all, this decision's got to be seen in conjunction with prior similar cases that have been decided by the Supreme Court, specifically Shaw versus Reno, Miller versus Johnson in the Rucho case. So I say that because what it really all adds up to is the Supreme Court giving a green light to state legislatures, a majority of which are controlled by Republicans and overwhelmingly in the Deep South, to redistrict in any way they want for the purposes of partisan self-aggrandizement. In other words, the green light is there for Louisiana, for Texas, for Arkansas, for Mississippi, for Alabama, for South Carolina to create all Republican congressional delegations and overwhelmingly white, if not all white, congressional delegations, and simply do it in the name of partisan self-entrenchment, which the Supreme Court has said is perfectly legitimate. They have enthusiastically embraced partisan redistricting and declared it to be a political question, off limits to them, non-justiciable. And so they've gotten that green light. And in the meantime, set up a doctrine which says essentially that a majority African American or Hispanic district is presumptively unconstitutional, and so can be struck down absent the most extraordinary proof of intent to discriminate by whites. But the mere existence of one of these—
It's basically saying that although because of discrimination, African Americans are in the situation they're in, they're economically in that situation, and they're politically. The situation that African Americans are in is because the majority population treats them a certain way. That's really what it is historically. You can't break through history and fact of the country. So because we're in these corners of society, essentially they're basically going to make laws now to say that you don't deserve any representation because you're in that situation. So before, the court understood that centuries of Jim Crow, Jim Crow, 100 years or whatever, and a couple hundred years of slavery, the Supreme Court in a modern day acknowledged that those things have critically and impacted African Americans' lives in a way like nothing else could affect anybody's life. Being denied rights does that. Duh. Not being able to own land does that. Duh. Not being able to have a job because of your color does that. Duh. It doesn't allow you to amass any type of wealth. It doesn't allow you to amass any solution power. You see what I mean? To your own circumstance. That was the whole point of discrimination, to have no power. And now that they've said it worked, now you're not even going to have that slight bit of representation. That slight bit of representation is too much to have. I mean, it's insane. It is insane. And again, it does affect who? It affects middle class and poor people, regardless of what color you are. That's who it affects, actually. It affects way more people than just even African Americans, but they're able to get away with it because it has the face of African Americans. But once people figure out that it is actually targeting the middle class, weakening the middle class, and then things, hopefully people will unvote this type of shit. If they have any brains, they will, but we'll see. It's just hoping. Let's see if the people will do something different.
Presumptively proves that there is a, quote, racial gerrymander, by which they mean, in their typical way of twisting language, not a gerrymander against African Americans or Hispanics, but a gerrymander against white people. Okay, so the bottom line is those districts are on the chopping block. Benny Thompson's district in Mississippi, Jim Clyburn's district in South Carolina, the two districts in Louisiana. I don't quite know how they're going to slice and dice up New Orleans, if they're really going to go that far, but they've gotten the green light to do it. So what are the answers? Well, one answer, and here's a bit of good news that I want to bring to people. We have, I think it's 56 or 57 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. The overwhelming majority do not represent majority black districts. Only 11 or 12 represent majority African American districts. Those are the ones we're talking about in the South. But lots of my colleagues, like Joe Neguse from Colorado, he represents 1 or 2% African American district, overwhelmingly white district. My friend Gabe Ama from Rhode Island, maybe 4 or 5% black district in Rhode Island, overwhelmingly non-African American. In other words, the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, the Civil Rights Movement have done their work in terms of changing the political consciousness of the country, certainly in the North and certainly within the Democratic Party. But these other districts in the South are sitting there like sitting ducks. That's what this is all about. That's why the Supreme Court raced to release the decision and then raced to say Louisiana could go ahead and cancel the U.S. House elections, even when the other elections went forward and to do it. So we know where the problem is. And this has been our problem historically. The problem has been in the Deep South. So we need political answers that relate to that. And then nationally, I would say we need to get very, very serious about what we tried to do in the For the People Act, banning partisan redistricting, mandating nonpartisan redistricting panels, and then moving to multi-member districts with forms of proportional representation.
With Autopsy, you can.
Sorry about this. I'm just reading a little bit about how it affects the middle class white vote, actually. And that looks a little different. A lot of people are not focusing on that right now, but I like to focus on those things kind of early because I kind of know the game. Like, you bait people. This is how they baiting the middle class white voters into hurting themselves, essentially. But here we go. Let's let Jerry finish what he was saying.
Cumulative voting, so that yes, there will be some Republicans who get elected to Congress in Massachusetts or New York, but there will be Democrats getting elected to office in Louisiana, in Mississippi, in South Carolina, and so on. But that's going to be an educational mission. But I think we should be able to get there. I remember when people were saying nobody can even understand what redistricting is or what gerrymandering is. And now everybody understands what it is.
Right.
And the next phase is to package legislative solutions that people can understand to get us out of this right-wing political white supremacy gerrymander box that the Supreme Court has put us into.
All right, Leah, I told.
All right, let me see here. So what it says here is this. Here it is. And this is what, I mean, I think most analysts will come to this conclusion. Unfortunately, there's a lot of, again, there was 80 million people that didn't vote in the last 2024 election, right? So there's already 1/3 of the U.S. population that doesn't vote at all, that is vote illiterate, essentially. They don't know what the relevance of voting is, or they just don't feel like voting. They're not happy with both parties, so they don't see their vote counting at all. And obviously, this is not Black Americans that feel that way, because Black Americans are an extreme minority in the country. So they don't come close to 80 million people. They're about half of that. You see what I mean? And I believe, if I'm correct, you know, what would it be? Maybe 70% voted. I don't know. I don't know the numbers on that. What percentage of the African American population is of voting age, and then what percentage voted. But obviously, this is about, you could say, in that 80 million, maybe it's 10 million African Americans. Maybe. Something like that, roughly, I believe. It's 10 million that didn't vote in the last election. So the other 70 million are not African Americans that didn't vote. Having said that, these are also likely middle class and poor people, right? So how is it going to affect them? For middle class white voters, redistricting is a double-edged sword that often feels like a benefit in the short term, but can lead to long-term political instability. In the current 2026 landscape, this group, particularly those in the suburbs, is the primary target of the map makers because they are often the swing voters. See? Swing voters, right? That means they're coming after them too. You got to understand that, because now is their opportunity to not just get Black representation out of there, but to get moderate middle class representation out of there also. Right. In other words, give more to the wealthy in that state. Right. So let's see here. Often the swing voters who decided who controls the House. So what are they going to do with those white swing voters? Split them. Right. Here's how it affects them specifically. The suburban tug of war. Middle class white voters often live in the suburbs, which are most contested battlegrounds in the U.S. So they're split already. You see? They're split. Because your vote is up for grabs, both parties draw maps that cater to the specific concerns like school funding, property taxes, and local infrastructure. To win your favor, you may see more political attention and campaign spending than other groups. So they will be heavily campaigning in the suburbs. The downside, the map makers often crack middle class. So the people in power that are going to crack the maps, i.e. doing the redistricting right now, right? Map makers often crack middle class suburbs to spread their votes across multiple districts. This means, so they split you up. This means your neighborhood might be split down the middle, leaving you and your neighbors represented by two different people, which can make it harder to advocate for local issues like a new highway exit or regional school funding, etc. High efficiency versus low efficiency impact. In many states, middle-class white voters are efficiency distributed. Unlike low-income voters who are often concentrated into urban districts, middle-class white voters are often the glue that holds the district together. In red states, map makers may use middle-class white suburbs to draw out nearby urban minority clusters by attaching a slice of the city to a large suburban and rural area. The middle-class suburban vote becomes the dominant voice, right? In blue states, the opposite happens. Suburbs often are linked with urban cores to ensure a reliable Democratic majority. In both cases, the individual middle-class voter is powerful, but their specific class interests might get buried under the broader partisan agenda of the district. So, in other words, it's going to affect, in red states, it's likely to affect anybody that is leaning not upper middle class, but lower middle class and under, right? Sadly, because obviously blue states are more moderate and don't do the same type of redistricting, not in the same way. They try to make sure it's more inclusive, right? But it's no guarantee. It's no guarantee. The polarization trap, because redistricting in 2026 is so technologically precise, many middle class, right? That means it's by numbers and they know to who's registered, right? Who the legal registered voters are. So, you know, how much taxes you pay, all of that shit, right? They know everything. It's a comprehensive split. Okay, so it's very precise. Many middle-class white voters find themselves in safe seats where the general election is a foregone conclusion. Okay, loss of moderate voices. Since the only real threat to an incumbent in a safe seat is a primary challenge from the far left or far right, the representative often moves to the extremes. Okay, the representatives often move to the extremes. Yeah, so there you have it. The result, a middle-class voter who considers themselves a moderate or independent may find their representative no longer reflects their views. So it's going to be less moderate in the white world, you could say, right? I mean, yeah, that's what it is. They're going to be affected too. It's not going to just be the black folk. Okay. Focusing instead on culture war issues that fire up the base rather than the pragmatic economic policies. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's exactly how it's going to turn out. There won't be economic policies to lift up this group. That's just not how it works in the United States. That is not the Republican Party. It's usually the other way around. Focus on the minorities, rob everybody else. So there's going to be more of this. And what does that mean on the state level? That means wealthy people will get more than they're getting now in advantages. They're going to own more property. Yeah. Healthcare costs or college affordability is going to go even more out the window, affect the middle class. So there you have it. You voted more for your ass kicking. Sure, somebody else is going to get their ass kicked a little more than you, but you know, that's how you like it. You're willing to get your ass kicked too. And hey, that's admirable of you. It's also dumb. Okay. Recent 2026 legal shifts, Callis versus Louisiana. Recent Supreme Court rulings in early 2026 have made it easier for states to prioritize partisan advantage over other factors. In a state like Tennessee and Louisiana, this has led to the elimination of majority-minority districts. However, it affects white voters. When these minority districts are broken up, those voters are often absorbed into surrounding white suburban districts. This can suddenly turn a safe middle-class white district into a toss-up. It might happen, okay? Or a highly competitive district. While this makes your vote more valuable because the seat is competitive, it also leads to an explosion of negative political ads and constant campaigning in your backyard. Okay, yeah, so, that's the gist of it. In short, while the wealthy use redistricting to protect their power and the poor often have their power diluted, the middle class is used as a tool for partisan gain. You know what that means? That means you didn't gain anything. Somebody lost something, but you didn't gain nothing because no one's still thinking about you. And yeah, that's crazy. But that is America, and we've learned that. That is just the pattern in the United States. So everybody got except the rich.
Before, and I'm going to say in front of the 2,000 people who are listening, Leah Littman was right when she and I talked about this months ago before this decision came down. I have to say, Leah, I was not surprised that the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. I have been surprised at the utter cynicism of it and the willingness of the court to kind of not pretend very hard that it is doing, sort of neutral law. And so I want to ask you a few sort of pieces of this and then have you sort of wrap this together. Let's start with the fact that the Chief Justice promised us in the Shelby County decision that nothing was going to impact the nationwide application of Section 2. And here we are now gutting Section 2. We have the Supreme Court somehow trying to distinguish the Alabama decision from a couple of years ago, saying that, Alabama just didn't ask this question, when in fact the only reason, it's just not true. And also the fact that this case was ordered to be argued on terms that the parties didn't even ask to order it. So it's almost like the conservative court just said, you know what, it's time for us to strike down the Voting Rights Act. And so we're just gonna make the parties argue a case so we can do that. And then of course there is the recent decision to expedite the mandate, the formal order to the state of Louisiana so that they can cancel 42,000 votes that have already been cast so that, these white plaintiffs don't suffer constitutional harm when in fact the Supreme Court has repeatedly let black voters suffer constitutional harm. So, I ask this because you're a law professor. I ask this honestly because you're one of the few people who ever clerked for the Supreme Court who has kind of a willingness to speak about the Supreme Court in terms other than complete reverence. So I don't have to stand up when you mention the Supreme Court. What is going on here?
I think they've kind of revealed themselves to be complete hacks, and we shouldn't treat them as Supreme Justices who are expounding some sort of higher law. We have to reclaim the Constitution for ourselves, and I want to bring together a few things that both Damon and Representative Raskin said in response to your question. First, I think it's very important that people understand the different hypocrisies and inconsistencies you identified, because the brazenness and the partisanship of the Supreme Court has to be part of the story. And it has to be part of the story because it is the only way we get out of this, by engaging in meaningful democracy reform and Supreme Court reform. If we pass that ban on partisan gerrymandering, if we pass that law creating multi-member districts with proportional representation, that's just another law. Like Damon said, the solution isn't passing another law because the Supreme Court can nullify that law. Exactly. They can invalidate that law. Yep. And I think the lesson they learned from Brnovich versus Shelby County is they'll just claim to not actually be invalidating a law, claim to be updating a test, and they'll be able to sneak one past the American public and try to actually avoid meaningful public outrage. So to the extent people
Supreme
have
Court,
questions about
the Supreme Court is essentially a hack for the wealthy at this point. They're just corrupt, and that is why you see things going the way they've been going, and they've been going way far away from Western values. You see what I mean? Every other Western nation is capitalistic also, but has universal health care and universal education pretty much for their citizens. The United States has been fighting that. Why? Because it means wealthy people can't just use the taxpayer money for themselves. More of it has to be used for the public interest. That's really what the battle is. And because the U.S. is so extreme, it has allowed very few to get so much money that they can affect everyone else through payoffs. Like you heard, the Supreme Court judges get gifts, but without reporting them. They can buy elected officials. They can buy campaigns. They can fund everything. They're owning the media, which is legacy media. CNN, Fox, CBS now, many more, and it's going to be others. Pretty soon, they are the media vacuum. So you don't have health care and you don't have education in the wealthiest country on earth, not universal, in the wealthiest country on earth, in the wealthiest Western country, because you're being scammed. The wealthy have that much to confront you from all sides now, all sides, you see. And it's just really unfortunate, but Americans can vote their way out of it still, but you have to be willing to do your part. You have to be willing to do your part. Podcasters also, you have to be willing to do your part. Don't just complain. Tell your listeners to register to vote. That has to be part of your programming. No matter if you're talking about Puff Daddy, no matter who you're talking about, what your podcast is about. If you're in the United States of America or you're an American, 10% of your podcast every single time you go live needs to be telling the people that listen to you how much their vote is needed, and remind them that they need to register to vote now. Do not wait for the midterms to register, because you can be slowed down. So do it now while there's still plenty of time for a mistake and for you to be prolonged a little with your registration. But at least there's enough time to be able to register. 80 million Americans didn't vote in the last election, presidential election. Even in some of these southern states, some of the people that should be voting didn't vote enough. They could have changed the outcome. People, listen, things don't have to be this way in the United States of America. They are this way because people don't respect the only vote, the only thing that really matters. And at the end of the day, if you're not voting, the rest of that shit don't matter. You have to vote, and you got to keep up voting. You got to vote in the presidential election. You got to vote in the midterm elections. The midterms are almost even more important, because without congressional members that are in your favor, and without senators in your favor, you'd have no checks and balances against the Supreme Court. You got no checks and balances against the White House. None. The most powerful representatives in the country, the most powerful people, are the members and the senators. Together, they can overrule the Supreme Court. They can fire the Supreme Court. They can fire the president straight up. They can remove them from office, period. But if you don't get enough of them on both sides in the Congress and in the Senate to agree on that, you have what you have here: a rogue fucking Supreme Court and a rogue White House. Now, I'm just going to listen to the rest of what this woman says, because she was actually working under the Supreme Court at one time for one of the judges. So I just want to hear the rest of her take on this. So let's see here.
Different hypocrisies and inconsistencies you identified. I'd say please, ask about that in the Q&A, or read a piece or two on Democracy Docket, so that you can explain to other people just how brazenly partisan and hackish the Supreme Court has been. I have been likening this, as I said to you kind of before, to basically the Mitch McConnell and Republican Senate switch between Merrick Garland and Amy Barrett. That is, they insisted they could not confirm a justice too close to an election when Obama nominated Merrick Garland, 9 months before an election. But then, Amy Barrett comes around and they're willing to confirm her after millions of votes have been cast and an election is already underway. For years, the Republican justices have insisted federal courts cannot protect voting rights by altering the rules too close to an election. And they have used that principle to force Black voters to vote under illegal maps, to force individuals to vote under harsh COVID protocols that made it more difficult to vote absentee. Now they turn around and say, but we can go ahead and alter the rules and encourage states to alter the rules more quickly, even though, as you note, the election is already underway. And that's just one of the hypocritical aspects of this case.
Before we move on, I want to ask you about a different hypocritical aspect of this case, which actually Damon mentioned, and it shouldn't be overlooked. He's exactly right. Like, I was actually prepared to write for Democracy Docket the day of the Calais case about the absolute hypocrisy in the Texas case, where on the shadow docket, as Damon said, Damon and my law firm, we won this big case in Texas saying that this map was illegal. It gets stayed by a conservative majority of the Supreme Court, and then the state of Texas says, note probable jurisdiction, which is a fancy way of saying take the case and decide it on the merits, have there be oral argument. Like, the state of Texas thought this case needed to be heard for oral argument. And in the dead of the night, or I guess it was in the dead of the morning, the Supreme Court just decides to summarily reverse our victory. And that's the end of the story.
I mean, it's completely ridiculous. The Texas case, I think, exposes the hypocrisy of Calais in a number of different ways. As you know, the Supreme Court had paused the lower court ruling invalidating the Texas maps as a racist gerrymander, but it did so on the shadow docket, where the court has insisted that their orders aren't precedential and aren't binding. And then they come around and say, no, we're just reversing the Texas decision because of our shadow docket order. Both of these things cannot be true. Also, in the Texas case, they said it wasn't a racial gerrymander for the Department of Justice to tell the state of Texas to target majority-minority districts. But it is a racial gerrymander for a state like Louisiana to try to comply with the Voting Rights Act to ensure that Black voters aren't locked out of power. Jon Stewart said this on an episode a few nights ago, but he likened this to the whoever smelt it dealt it theory of racism. Basically, if you say you are trying to fix racism, then you're the real racist. So yes, this is just one of the maddening aspects of Calais in Texas, and any other number of matters.
All right, David, I got a question that I'm hoping, I'm not sure you'll give me reassurance, but I think we need to have an honest conversation about. And I wrote this for Democracy Docket. When Citizens United came down, there's just actually an article in the New York Times that oddly enough sort of touched on this. That when Citizens United came down, I immediately told everyone, it is not what they held in this case. It is what the holding of this case is going to mean culturally. And by that, what I had in mind was that, the Citizens United decision only said that corporations get to make independent expenditures. The right of individuals to make independent expenditures had already been decided 40 years earlier in Buckley v. Vallejo. But that what happened with Citizens United is it created a culture of permission, a permission structure for big money to flood into politics. And my fear here, my honest to God, the thing that keeps me up at night is you heard Congressman Raskin talk about, Congressman Neguse, or you can name any number of other Black elected officials. And I think we are already seeing evidence that the right wing is going to try to say that Calais delegitimizes all of them. And here is my concern. The first public official out of the box that I saw after the Calais decision was Eric Schmidt, the former Attorney General of Missouri. This is a smart guy. This is a guy who has been a lawyer for a long time. And he's now a U.S. Senator. And he sent a letter to the Department of Justice, posted on social media, and said, we should go after every VRA district in the country. And then he said we should start with California. And Harmeet Dillon, the head of the Civil Rights Division, said, on it. Now, the reason why that struck me is because we already know that California's map is a partisan gerrymander. It actually is the very thing that Justice Alito is blessing, right? This is a partisan gerrymander. And we know that because Justice Alito said in an order in the Texas case that California was a partisan gerrymander. And of course, the state of California said it's a partisan gerrymander, and the federal court said it was a partisan gerrymander. So when when a Republican senator says start with California, he's not talking about VRA districts. He's talking about black members of Congress. He's not talking about VRA districts. He's talking about Latino members of Congress. This is clear to me, as it was with Citizens United. They are going to use this as a cultural moment to try to say that whether you are in a 55% BVAP district in the Deep South or you're in a 20% district in New York or pick a state, you are somehow illegitimate because you are black and you hold elective office. You are Latino and you held elective office. Am I over worrying this? And how do we tackle this to prevent this from happening?
This video was created by AI.
Mark, I wish I could say you were over worrying it. It is about so Trump has a politics of white nationalist grievance. We now have a jurisprudence to match it. And you saw it, you can, I'm analogizing to Plessy and Dredd. I'm also going to analogize to the students of fair admissions cases out of Harvard and UNC.
It's exactly right.
Right, because we litigated that case. One of our lawyers, David, argued it in the SCOTUS. It was a tough loss. We saw it coming from a mile away, of course. That will be a loss, given the balance in the court. But people thought that those cases were about access to elite institutions. But it was actually the trickle-down effect has been through all higher ed institutions, even those that are not as selective as a Harvard or elite state school like UNC Chapel Hill. And it delegitimized, or has been used to delegitimize, the very presence of Black students, of Latino students on these campuses. And of course, we know about the impacts in corporate America and so on and so on, right? And so it's delegitimized not just diversity, equity, inclusion programs or old school affirmative actions, which we haven't had in a very long time, by the way, people, but it's been used as an invitation to discrimination. It's been used to attack all folks. One of the things that Ed Blum did, the guy who financed Shelby County and financed this made-up Students for Fair Admissions organization, where he went on a hunt for Asian plaintiffs, where he had zero testify at trial. His whole thing is that we don't belong. It's a politics of who belongs and who doesn't. Mm-hmm. After SFFA, he wrote to major higher ed institutions and said, hey, your numbers of Black students aren't down. What's going on? Because if you were complying, these color folks who don't belong wouldn't be there. The same thing is exactly what you said when it comes to Congress and pretty soon state legislatures and everywhere else. And look, we're a nonpartisan organization at the Lawyers Committee. We represent interests of not elected officials, but Black voters. But elected officials are a measure of who can elect their candidate of choice, right? Whether it be a Black member of state legislature in X state, or whether it be Steve Cohen in Tennessee, right? That's a candidate of choice. And so we're looking at a politics that will delegitimize not just Black and Latino elected officials, but the very votes and voices of Black and Latino voters.
Congressman, you're hearing all of this, and you have a unique perch. What do you make of it, and what do we do?
Well, again, let me just echo the other two panelists here for 1 second, Mark. First of all, Leah's point is absolutely right about the utter rank, egregious hypocrisy of the right-wing justices, but that's putting it in moral terms. And I think they long ago discredited themselves as moral actors. You've got to put it in legal terms. I mean, this is utterly contradictory to the statute and the constitutional text that they purport to be implementing, right? So the Voting Rights Act, the whole point of the amendments in 1982 was to move from the judicially imposed straitjacket of an intent test to an effects test. And yet they just pulled the rug out again from the Voting Rights Act, saying it is it is a purpose test under the Constitution, and so we're going to just wipe out what Congress did in the Voting Rights Act. But what they did with equal protection and the 15th Amendment is even worse, because now they're purporting to construe the Constitution. And they always, whenever you have a minority plaintiff, they insist on a purpose requirement, that the purpose is to discriminate against them. And if you can't show governmental purpose, a motivation to discriminate, then you're not going to win an equal protection claim or a 15th Amendment voting rights claim. But if you have the creation of majority African American districts simply to comply with the Voting Rights Act or to effectuate the purposes of the 15th Amendment itself, Black political empowerment and equality, I mean, even, in these southern states where they're striking these districts down, it doesn't get anywhere close to racial proportional representation, which is not allowed under the Voting Rights Act and is not mandated by the Constitution. And yet they're striking it down without showing there's any discriminatory purpose at all, because there's obviously no discriminatory purpose. So the legal contradictions are just unbelievable, the way that they're betraying constitutional text and the jurisprudence of the court from before. I want to give a couple of silver linings here, because I don't think we can just be, drowning in our beer. And here's one, as I talk to my colleagues on the floor. A lot of what has taken place, both in the South and in other places, is, okay, we're going to create a majority African American or Hispanic district, but we're going to pack as many African Americans or Hispanics in there as possible. Okay. And that obviously helps to whiten the neighboring districts. Well, that too, and I concede this was totally coincidental and unintentional, but that too has been discredited by this opinion. In other words, you can't have that form of race consciousness. That means some of these 55 or 60 or 70% African American districts might go down to 40% or 45% districts, where it's still a determinative force within the context of.
It doesn't make any sense. What they did was just create chaos. It doesn't make any sense. Essentially, what they did was produce elections. They've harmed the election process, and that may have been the real intent of Trump in the first place, to create a situation where elections he can say they're not even legitimate. And look, he can run for cover now, because he can also say it wasn't his idea. That's the Supreme Court. They're a separate body. That's Congress. They're a separate body. You see what I mean? So it's like the very argument that they made, it doesn't make sense. And he just broke it down right here. They're claiming that the reason that they can break up these districts is because they represent something that is discriminatory. Okay, but you're only breaking up half of it. The rest is still black. So what is that? You know what I'm saying? There's so many contradictions in the whole thing, just period, right? But just according to their own logic, it doesn't make sense. Because if you're going to stop something, you're going to stop it all the way. You're not going to stop it a little bit and then let the rest remain. It just doesn't make sense. Listen to this. Listen to this again.
Both in the South and in other places is, okay, we're going to create a majority African American or Hispanic district, but we're going to pack as many African Americans or Hispanics in there as possible. Okay. And that obviously helps to whiten the neighboring districts. Well, that too, and I concede this was totally coincidental and unintentional, but that too has been discredited by this opinion. In other words, you can't have that form of race consciousness. That means some of these 55 or 60 or 70% African American districts might go down to 40% or 45% districts, where it's still a determinative force within the context of the Voting Rights Act, but then suddenly neighboring districts get more competitive. And we've got to make sure that that's part of what takes place here.
So that's why right now, everybody needs to be talking about who's got to register to vote. Everybody. If you're a podcaster and you're telling people to register and you're not telling people to register to vote, you're not for American people. Meaning, podcasters, get out there. If it doesn't matter what kind of program you have, you need to be talking on your own program. If you're talking about entertainment, if you're talking about basketball, if you're talking about ketchup, if you're talking about baking, if you're talking about anything, hiking, if you're talking about, rapping, fucking music, talk about registering to vote. Like, this is serious. 80 million people did not vote in the last presidential election. That is why you see things the way they are. That's 1/3 of the voting population. It's way too many people complaining. And I bet you a whole lot of them that complain don't even fucking vote. Stop complaining. Get out there and vote. Stop telling people voting doesn't matter. And stop telling people both parties are the same. That's why you got so many people who don't vote. Instead, do the opposite. Tell people to register to vote and vote. There's more middle class and poor people than there are wealthy people in the United States of America. Don't you know with a vote you can change your life? Especially in the midterm elections. Especially in the midterm elections. The midterms, the Congress and the Senate are the midterms. They control the country. If you got a president that needs to be impeached, they impeach him. If you got corrupt judges that take gifts and don't report them, or take millions in gifts, they shouldn't even be getting millions in the first place in gifts. That right there is bullshit. But at least the Congress and the Senate can impeach them. But if you're not voting, they can't do shit. You can't do shit for yourself, and nobody else can either. You see what I mean? So get out there, register, everybody. Tell someone, tell your neighbor, tell anybody on the train, on the bus, after work, before work, at lunch, at the discotheque, at the fucking concert, at the, register to vote. Register to vote. Register to vote if you care about your own countrymen and women. Register to vote if you care about your country's kids. Register to vote if you care about the elderly in your country. Register to vote because there is a correlation between nations that have universal health care and universal education. There's a correlation between the percentage of the population that votes. Yes. The United States has an extremely low voting population, and they, of all other Western nations, have less civil rights. We're not talking about rights for colors, for different colored people. We're talking about rights for the middle class, regardless of what color you are. Rights for the poor, regardless of what color you are. Rights for the elderly, regardless of what color you are. Rights for the kids, regardless, and youth, regardless for what color you are. Yeah, that's how it works. So people better get out there. And thank you to Jamie Raskin for breaking it down, and making it practical, making it something people can understand. But for those of you that don't know, I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C. And my family goes back to both sides of on both sides to the colonial period. But as a grown ass man, I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. I live outside of my country. And in Copenhagen, in Denmark, 80% of the population at least votes, right? The United States, I don't even know what I think it's like 50, 60% maybe. 60% might vote. 65% of the voting population votes. So it's much less, you see. And across Europe, it's higher. Across Europe, it's every other Western capitalistic country. Every other Western capitalistic country, and all Western countries are capitalistic. They all have higher voter turnout, and they all have universal health care and education. So Americans, come on, we got to do our part at the very least. If you talk about make America great again, how the fuck are you going to do that if you don't vote? If you got the least voting population? How are you going to do that if you got the least amount of rights? You can't make America great when you paying all kinds of tax dollars and you have the least amount of rights of all Western people, and even the rights that you had before are being cut. That's called make America worse. And people are going for it because they're scapegoating one small minority group, black people, to trick the rest into giving up their rights too. The rest of the middle class is going to give up their rights. Just if you're bigoted, you will easily go along with that. You will say, ha, 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 the black Americans are losing their rights. And then you don't realize you're next in proximity to them. You're adjacent to African Americans because you're part of the middle class and poor too. Even if you live in the suburbs and you're middle class, you're still adjacent to African Americans. So what happens to them is like a cold. You're going to catch the cold too. And it ain't going to take long. Same country, same sickness. People better get along with this. So on that note, I'm going to be out. I'll be back. I appreciate everybody today. Now it is officially the weekend for me. So I got 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and Monday, by the way, to do my things. I got 4 days off. Thank God. I appreciate it. God bless Denmark for allowing me to have those 4 days off, even though I work a lot of hours. I work more than 40 hours pretty much a week. But I appreciate everybody for coming out and your support. Do me a favor, click the like button, subscribe. If you think this channel would be interesting for more people like you, do me a favor and share the content with other people. I'm not your average podcaster. I try to express myself how I am normally on the day-to-day as a regular average person in life, living life. But I will tell you, I do care about people, and I want everybody to be able to, move forward together in a positive way. And not just in my own home country, the United States of America, although we need it damn near more than everybody else in the West. But even in the country I live in Denmark, there's given me so many blessings, also, and my children, and again, I'll be back. I appreciate everybody for coming out, and have a pleasant day today, this Friday 8th. I hope everybody has a good one. So remember, register to vote and tell somebody else to register to vote. All right, I'll see you guys. I'll be back in a few, less than 18 hours. I'll be back in probably like 12 hours. So I'll see you guys. Peace. What?
Yo. The time, the place. Where you just focus on the things that are real in your life.
Vote.
Cause the others, they ain't got what's
register to vote.
Necessary. The necessary
see ya.
Ingredients. But we do. Check it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. Orientation in this place we call Earth. Love from conception, from your mom, your birth. Pops planted the seed in the turf. From there, you must find out what life is worth. Grew up learning your do's and don'ts. Before working on your motor skills, working on your coordination, right? And orientation to what you like. The brand new thing, so gentle the soul we're capturing. In this distance, the alphabets the kids sing. They celebrate when it's time to go outside. As you get older, you learn to let all the troubles in your life just glide away. Stay focused, keep it smooth, keep you cool. Things in life can make it get rude. If you let it, don't let it. 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 If you let it, let it, let it, what? If you let it, don't let it, let it. If you let it, what? Don't let it. If you let it, don't let it, let it. Don't let it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. Check it. We embark on this journey through your soul. We wanna have a good time. We embark on this journey through your soul. We wanna have a good time. own it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you own it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you own it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you own it. We got what you want. From our harshest past and better than our society's identity. But then again, can you tell me that's free? They explain to you what your mind should perceive, suggest things they want you to believe, like your skin color dictates your race. They're calling you an idiot to your face, like life is much more simple than that. We're all slaves and the cards are stacked. While we fight over problems we can fix, industrialists turn our kids to addicts. The television does a job, introduce you. The radio's right there to seduce you, keep you locked on the wrong damn track. Cigarettes is just legalized crack. They want you to catch a damn heart attack. They want you to catch a damn heart attack. What? Stop believing in the flag, it's a trap. Cause men rule this world, that's a fact. They don't know, they don't know. But I'm gonna make it right tonight. They don't lie, they don't lie. But I'm gonna say it like I know. They don't know, they don't know. Then I'm gonna hit them with the shit. They don't lie, they don't lie. Then you're gonna feel mine tonight, 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 tonight. Then you're gonna feel mine tonight, 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 tonight. Then you're gonna feel mine tonight, 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 tonight. That you're gonna feel mine tonight, 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 tonight. If you see a man that needs help, then help a brother. If you see a sister on her own, still love her. Cause life is about how you choose to see it. But you gotta teach people how to learn to see it. The planet's been through suffering many times. We propagate many wars many times. The people need to wake up and stop accepting deceit from their own government's deception. You can't blame the people for needing protection from the government's bad reputation. We need to sing a song called Free the Nation. Cause we done had a whole lot of separation. Racism, classism, nationalism, based on keeping people out on the plantation. That's the plan, no doubt. Cause rich people got a plan, no doubt. If you still don't understand and believe that we are all one from the same mother and respect each woman and man with the same consideration you would like to be given on a daily, then you need to retire so the new generation can take over and show you how to live and govern this place we call Earth home. Everybody here, yeah. Check it out. They don't know, kid. They don't know, they don't know. But I'm gonna make it right tonight. They don't lie, they don't lie. But I'm gonna say it like I know. They don't know, they don't know. Then I'm gonna hit them with the shit. They don't lie, they don't lie. world. And yes, you know the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong. When am I walking? Sometimes I think about, does love still exist? Yeah, I have my doubts. On the street, I check out how brothers been living. Yo, let's just say, kid, it ain't no Thanksgiving. We got people shooting dope, ain't never heard of hope. We got others with the gat and the brothers with the fucking scope. As I enter the projects, enter rec rooms, some brothers might see the doom. I see my man Paulo, fat pockets of papes. He knows the neighborhood biddies with all the dopest shapes. There goes Rollo with the blowout fro. He's got a gap, hey yo, brothers gots to go. No show is live with narrate, fuck Memorex. My man Rollo's got a gat at Paulo's chest. One slug blasted out, down boy died. Now show me some love, kid, it sounds like a fucking yes, you lie. Know the struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Sometimes I think how the world come to this, a place where every man and woman needs a therapist. Mass confusion, people living in delusion, justify all the bullshit through the Constitution. Meanwhile, the masses struggle to survive. I think we're too busy to hear our people's cries. Single mothers struggle to raise families, genocide committed through famine and disease. I wonder if these things will ever cease to exist. I know it could if we cease and desist. Giving all the power to the industrialists, giving all our power to the damn commercialists that see us just as being sheep in this world, that want us to do what we're told like boys and girls. Oh God, I want to live another day so I can help provide equality and this day. The struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. Though we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Everybody round the globe, open up your earlobe, your third eye, and then decipher the code. Through knowledge, understanding, then bring love into the concept instead of bling bling. Truth instead of biased educational methods. Twisting, contorting God's message of love for every human being. Listen, motherfucker, don't you hear the screams? It's time to do much more than talk, debate, and spread hate. We need to think and at the same time investigate. Understand what our actions may create. Before continuing the cycle we procreate. We can clone humans, but at the same time we can't feed humans. The future of man is actually looming. It's really depressing, it's true. And yes, you know the struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. Though we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Yes, you know the struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. Though we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. But I just back away real cool, no fussing. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do. So sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil evil that's across the globe, that's too far. But evil lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin. But then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. So listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Into the Star Trek room when you hit the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. To the bony, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney.